Hi, this is Steve O'Mooney, and you're listening to another production of the Four-Eyed Radio Network at foureyeradio.com.
Today on Ranger Command Power Hour.
Can you still say, "Where's my autograph book"?
Yes.
Do you remember saying,
"Where's my autograph book"?
My question is, what was the hardest mission on your team? Like,
hardest mission.
You know what, for me, I think the hardest mission was keeping each and every one of you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you come and tell us that you love us, we gotta love you back. So that's hard.
My question is, out of all the monsters, including Goldar, were used, which was your favorite to blow up? Like Marge.
Which is the favorite monster to blow up?
Like Piranha's Head, Terratoad. Like, which one was your favorite to, like, for Rita, which one did you like to enlarge? For Zed, which one did you like to enlarge?
Oh, okay. Well, I like to enlarge the skull.
That's kind of getting back to that later panel, isn't it? Jesus.
And now on Ranger Command Power Hour.
Hey, it's the Ranger Command Power Hour.
Come on, this.
Today on the Power Hour, episode 37, Ranger Command at Lex Con 2015, recorded on March 17th, 2015. Welcome to the Ranger Command Power Hour on the Four-Eyed Radio Network. It's time to Ranger up with your hosts. I'm Eric, also known as Trekkie B47, and today I'm joined by some guest co-hosts that were at LexCon this year.
I'm Jordan, also known as DenO.
I'm RJ, also known as Uchi, Anime Redneck 96. Yeehaw!
I'm Matt, also known as PRGenerations.
This episode is brought to you by Revenge Lover, illustration and designs that fit your personality. For samples and inquiries, visit revengelover.com. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Going great.
You guys recovering from post-con?
Yeah, I get on Facebook and Twitter and I see all these pictures, like people with like all the Ranger actors. I'm like, let's go back.
Yeah.
Exactly. My wallet's still recovering, so...
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, mine's going to take about a month to recover.
Well, first, before we get into LexCon talk, a couple news items that are pretty cool. New Power Rangers Dino Charge episode titles and descriptions have been revealed, and this is from Kyle416 on Twitter. Episode 8 is called Double Ranger, Double Danger, and that premieres on April 4th. When clone Rangers steal the real Ranger's irreplaceable tracking device, Fury learns the location of the powerful Terrazord. So this is like the start of a trilogy of episodes to introduce the Gold Ranger.
I like how they're doing that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, we haven't got a multi-part story arc like this in a long time, so yeah, it's really refreshing.
It's been a while.
Episode 9 is When Logic Fails, airing on April 11th. The Maze Monster, working with Fury, captures the Rangers until Riley's logical mind helps them break free. But the delay has allowed Fury time to head towards the Terrazord. And then finally, Episode 10, The Royal Rangers, airing on April 18th. When the Rangers find the gold energem among royal treasure, they decide to impersonate a prince and princess to lure Fury in and gain control of the powerful Terrazord.
It's an interesting twist.
Yes.
I'm more like anxious to know who the Gold Ranger is going to be. That's just like, bam.
Yeah.
They've been keeping it under wraps for the most part in terms of who's the actor and all that, so it'll be interesting to see how the story plays out.
Definitely.
And then finally, our next piece of news, James Galen returns to Power Rangers as Shelby's dad. And people might know him from Power Rangers over the years, most notably playing Colonel Truman in Power Rangers RPM and voicing Zeltrax in Dino Thunder. So I think it's pretty cool they're getting him back. He always has a good monster voice because he's done several smaller monsters throughout the years, and also having that tie-in with a past dinosaur season.
You know what I'll find funny? Is if his name in Dino Charge is Smitty.
That would be pretty good. So now what we're all here to talk about is Lexington Comic-Con.
Yes, sir.
The first thing I wanted to ask you guys is, what has been your past attendance to this particular convention and overall general convention experience? So, Jordan?
Okay. Well, this is my fourth year. I've been to every LexCon there has been, and I've watched the show grow from 1,000 people to upwards of 10 to 20,000 people being in attendance. And I've got to say that it's pretty awesome, especially if you're a Ranger fan or this year even just kind of a Toku fan in general with the additional Ultraman actors and things like that. It's been great every year I've ever been. I think you guys probably enjoyed it just as much as I did, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because this is by far the best year it's ever been for fans of this franchise or of this genre of things.
Yeah, I was there in 2013. That's the only other time I've been to LexCon. And I missed last year, but the jump in difference between 2013 and this year was incredible. Like, the space was huge. It was maybe double or even triple the size as it was in 2013.
Yes, there was a lot more room to work with.
And it definitely didn't feel... I mean, there was a couple points on Saturday where it felt crowded, but it never really felt completely overwhelming.
Well, I don't have exact numbers yet, but I can say that attendance was down overall this year.
Oh, okay.
And so it did not seem as crowded specifically because there were less people. A lot of the dealers at the show this year will even tell you their sales were down by a decent chunk. But, for people who were there for these specific things, it couldn't have been better.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And then, Jordan, have you gone to other different conventions? I know you went to San Diego Comic-Con last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've done conventions plenty of times. San Diego was like the peak of my con goingness, which was pretty awesome. But I've also been to C2E2 in Chicago before. I've been to the Cincinnati Expo several times. So this is not like my first rodeo, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And how was it, since you were also there as a vendor, how was it for you guys this year?
I kind of have to echo what a lot of the other vendors said, that sales were definitely down.
Mm-hmm.
Granted for us, we're a local business. We drive 3 blocks to the convention center. We have no costs associated with the show other than paying for our booth. So actually, we made plenty of money. We had nothing into it. But for people who drove out of town, from like 5-6 hours away to set up, there definitely was a negative impact for them. But for us, it's free money.
Nice. RJ, what about you? Past attendance in LexCon and overall con experience?
Well, really, last year when I went to LexCon was my first convention ever. It was more of a birthday and graduation present type thing at the same time, so it was kind of a fun thing to do senior year. It was pretty good fun last year. I can definitely say it felt bigger, I guess, because they had different levels of the convention this year. So it felt bigger overall and a lot more guests than there was last year, like Ranger-wise, it felt.
And then, Matt, how about you? This was your first convention, right?
Yes, this was my very first convention, and I have to say, it was a blast. I mean, I had a lot of fun, especially like the people, like hanging out with you guys and going to all the panels, meeting all the Ranger actors and stuff. It was a cool experience. I intend to go again. It was really cool.
We've got quite a wide range of con experience here. Myself, I've been going to anime and comic book conventions for 15 years, and I think LexCon is one of my favorite conventions just because it's small enough of a convention. Even though it's growing every year, it's still small enough where it's not completely overwhelming. And there's a lot to do. There's panels all the time. There's really something for everyone. Another thing I wanted to bring up, what actors did you guys meet? Did you get any autographs? And what was that experience like for you?
So this year, I finally had the chance to meet Kerrigan Mahan, Goldar. He has been to the show before, but because I also work in town, I rarely have enough time to actually meet actors when I'm there. But I had some time to interact with him, with you guys, and then I had some time to hang out with him on Sunday again. And he's a pretty amazing dude. he seems to think that he is nothing extraordinary when it comes to these conventions, but he's definitely one of the nicer actors or personalities I've ever met. He's very humble, at least, I think.
I mean, maybe we can go into that a little bit because I know we're going to talk about favorite moments later, but in regards to Kerrigan, I think one of my favorite moments of the convention was hanging out with him, with you guys, and getting to draw those on his 8x10.
Those horrible pictures, yeah.
With a K.
Yeah. Coloring with Kerrigan.
It was definitely the highlight of hanging out with him, was just being like, we could fix those for you. And then finding out the day after that we failed spectacularly and nobody wanted to buy any of them.
Hey, I thought someone bought yours, though.
No, he gave it to his volunteer handler and addressed it and signed it personally for someone's birthday. Otherwise, he was going to give it back to me.
Yeah, and then, he wrote on mine, "Hey, face." And
it was stick. That's what he put on yours.
It was pretty funny. I think that was the highlight. In terms of interacting with the actors, I thought that was pretty hilarious. Yeah. But did you get to meet anyone else actor-wise, Jordan?
I always see Jason Narby and Paul Schreier every year, mostly because since I am a vendor and I'm there during setup hours, I usually get to interact with them before the show starts. Mm-hmm. And they're always fun guys. Just like the last couple years, they destroyed their couch this year at the end of the show. They murdered it, and they left lots of hilarious jokes written all over their table at their booth.
Nice.
Yeah, they were pretty great. I did not have as many chances to see as many people as I would have liked. I really wanted to have more time with the Zyurangers, but I actually did run into them several times away from their booth, and that worked out pretty well for me.
How about you, RJ?
I met Kerrigan Friday night, first thing, because the interviews, y'all have had him on here and interactions with him on Twitter. I just knew I had to meet him. He is a funny as hell guy. He is just one of those guys you will laugh your ass off with, especially when he got to telling me and you about the poster tube incident.
Yes, yes.
And then I got a photo with him Saturday because I forgot to do that Friday night, but it was pretty awesome. Saturday morning, I think right after I got there, I got in Austin St. John's line and met him. He's an awesome guy to meet. He takes time to talk to you, shakes your hand. I got him to sign a baseball glove type thing that my cousins had given me years ago, and his crew and him had never seen it before. Signed something like that before, which was kind of awesome. I'd also met Dan Southworth, who is even more of a badass in person. Not really scared of him, though, but I'm pretty sure he could still whoop my ass.
I think you could take everyone at the convention.
Yeah. And then I did get to meet David Fielding, thanks to you. You were talking to him, and we got a photo with him. I think as far as meeting actors go, that was it, but it was just awesome to see all the guests there.
I felt kind of bad that I kept going over to see Kerrigan, and I would only see David Fielding by association. I felt I stopped by there before the show opened on Sunday, and I was like, "Hey, do you know if Kerrigan sold those horrible 8x10s we ruined?" And he was like, "I don't know." And I felt bad about it.
Well, it was funny because the first time I stopped by Kerrigan's booth, I was talking with him for a while, and then I just kind of left because I had to go to a panel, and then I get a tweet from David Fielding at me. He's like, "Oh, sure, go talk to Kerrigan, but completely ignore me." Kind of as like a joke. But then I felt even worse because when I went back to see Kerrigan on Sunday, I forgot to check in with David Fielding, and I'm like, "Oh crap! I hope he doesn't think I'm snubbing him."
I felt bad, especially because I kept asking for people to collect my set of attendee badges, and I kept trying to find a guest who would give me one, and Kerrigan didn't want to, but I was like, "Hey, why don't you go ask Fielding over there? He doesn't need it." And he asked him, and he just looked at me, and he's like, "No."
Well, let me ask you, how did you finally get a guest badge?
Oh, well, it was a crazy story. It was the end of the show, and I was kind of getting ready to pack up our booth and move our cars into place, and I'm frantically asking people, and one of my customers here in town found a VIP badge just laying on the floor, so that was neat.
Nice.
I had talked to Kerrigan and his handler several times, And Kerrigan had made a note to take my name down and my information, and if he got one, he'd leave it at the front desk for me. I don't know if that ever panned out, but his handler, he gave me his badge and actually got Kerrigan to sign it for me, which was pretty cool.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, he came by my booth and dropped it off. And then I actually know some of the local comic guests at the show personally, and one of them, a guy named R.D. Hall, was there, and I was asking him if I could have his guest badge. And he was going to keep it, but we went over to see another artist we both knew named Mark Kidwell, who you guys might know. And he was like, sure, take it. I don't want it. So, so I got his, and then RD had been filming like a documentary with a crew all day at the convention. And so he had like 5 staff badges, so he gave me one of those. So I went from having my press badge and my exhibitor to having the other 4 within like a 10-minute span of time after the show ended.
That's amazing.
Yes. So, and I'm especially happy that the volunteer one came from Kerrigan and he signed it for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. Man, that must be something to be his handler, because to hear all that stuff.
Oh God. Oh, you know what's funny is his handler he's a pretty straight guy. Like, he was quiet.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was a straight man for sure. Like, he would laugh on occasion, but he was definitely quiet. But I noticed after they had left, like after everybody was packing up, Kerrigan had just like signed his tablecloth, like back on the corner. So yeah, I took that.
Nice. And then Matt, how about you? Actors you met and maybe any autographs that you got?
The only autograph I got is when I won that Armored Red Ranger for the raffle
at Austin St. John's Q&A.
Yeah. Other than that, I actually got to meet most of the MMPR crew: Hillary Shepard, Blake Foster, Michael Copon. And I ran into Dan Southworth, actually, when I was coming out of the elevator, so I got to talk to him for a minute, which is pretty cool. Nice guy.
Yeah, definitely. And then, I got to see Kerrigan again. This was my second time seeing him in person after PMC. And then David Fielding, Dan Southworth was awesome. That was so great because I got to meet him on Friday night. And then he said, he loved the podcast and said that he would like to come on again anytime that we want him. And then it was funny because I actually had a poster that my friend, I had commissioned an artist friend of mine to do of the Quantum Ranger. So he signed that. He was really impressed by that artwork. And then RJ was next to me. And he's like, oh, how about I sign a 8x10 for the podcast? And I said, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And then Uchi was like, yeah, Ranger Command is the best podcast. And so as Dan was signing, he wrote, to Ranger Command, the best podcast.
Yeah, rub it in.
So I thought that was pretty funny. And I got a picture of him because I brought my Quantum Defender. So he's holding it up as, I'm posing next to him. And then right after that, right after I met with Dan, I got into the line for the Zyurangers and got their autographs. So that was pretty cool. It was definitely a fun time meeting them. Got a hug from Reiko Chiba. It's always great meeting these actors I haven't met before, and definitely a fun time. So next is the panels. Towards the end of this episode, we are actually going to have audio highlights from every panel that I attended. So that's the Turbo Q&A panel, the MMPR panel, the Baddie panel, which was supposed to be MMPR Baddie, but they also had Vernon Wells there for some reason. Maybe just because he was a baddie. The Paul Freeman Q&A, which was grossly unattended. That actually made for a really good, more personal experience. Austin St. John Q&A, and finally from Sunday, the Zyuranger Q&A.
Was you at David's Q&A?
No, I actually missed David Yost's Q&A because I had to completely check out of the hotel and move all my stuff out of the room. So, unfortunately, I missed that one.
It was deep. Still fun, though.
Oh, okay. It seems like Lexington recorded all of their panels, which is amazing because not a lot of cons do that. Like, they might tape it, but they'll never post it anywhere.
Right.
And LexCon so far has a lot of panels up on their YouTube page. So I thought that was really cool. And it's not just one camera. They've got like multiple cameras and different angles and nice cuts. So I'm actually really impressed with that. Did you guys attend any panels? And if so, what did you think of them?
Sadly enough, no, I did not get to attend any panels. That's the unfortunate side effect of getting into the show for free as an exhibitor, but also having to work. So
yeah.
I was rather disappointed. From what I understand, all the ones you've mentioned were very good.
Yes, and you can hear our complete coverage at the end of the show.
Well, I have been watching some of the LexCon videos, too. Like, I watched the Villains panel with Kerrigan and everybody talking about the big news information drop he was dropping.
Yeah, which LexCon just, whatever, posted. And I'm like, oh, man, I don't know how Kerrigan's going to feel about that.
I told Fielding about that the next day, too, and he was like, really? What? Like, he was shocked that Kerrigan had that information. So
wow, that's pretty crazy. I would imagine that Kerrigan would have that information, especially since apparently Goldar is going to be the main villain of this reboot movie.
Yes.
So it's pretty crazy. RJ, how about you?
Me and Talisman over at Toku Nation, we attended the Turbo panel, and then what else did I get? I think I went to MMPR and the Baddies panel, which were all pretty fun in their own right. What else?
Well, the After Dark.
Oh, yes, that. God, I love that panel. That is the best. That is the best thing about that convention.
Yeah, it really is.
Just the highlights were Kerrigan May and Dan Southworth. That was just the highlights of it. Then I think I got there Sunday just after the David Yost panel had started because me and Dad kind of woke up late from our hotel. But the Austin St. John panel was probably the funnest one of the weekend just because of that story he told about the ATVs filming the 3-part in season 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny as hell because that sounds like some shit I'd do.
And then, Matt, how about you?
I think I pretty much attended all the panels besides the Balkan Skull panel because I was actually going to go down to the con floor and get some final purchases. But, I'd say the best one was probably the After Dark panel. I lost like a partial of my voice after that panel because I remember like getting out of the shower trying to go woo, and I was like, wow, that should have been louder.
Well, the After Dark panel was one that we couldn't record just because that's one of the rules of the panel. But man, that was hilarious.
I'd say the best story from that is what Dan Southworth said about font.
Yeah, definitely.
David Yost panel, what it was pretty much about, people asked him about like how the Saban teased the audience back in the day about how Billy would become a Blue Ranger, but that's the time when Billy was actually going to leave the show, pretty much. And
not the Blue Ranger, but the Gold Ranger.
Yeah, Gold Ranger. My bad.
Oh, okay.
And then they was talking about how David was talking about like when he was coming out as a gay person, how people would feel or treat him like when he came out, because he said he's something about going to IHOP with his mom today, and his mom was like, "Well, do you have anything to tell me?" So he said he just started breaking down crying and finally told her, and she's like, "Well, I'm okay with that." And then he said that he got back home to LA, I think. And he said he missed a call by his dad, and his dad said, "You know what? You're still our son. We love you either way." So he's pretty much telling people that are afraid to come out because they're afraid of what people are going to say to them is, just be yourself, accept yourself, and don't worry about what nobody says. It was a deep panel, especially for him and a lot of other people that was in there.
Wow. I'm really sorry I missed that. Wow, that sounded like a really good one. My highlights were definitely the After Dark panel. Just all the stories. I really liked the whole interaction with Kerrigan getting Barbara Goodson on the phone. That was crazy. And then, him doing the voice multiple times. But then the back and forth teasing and rivalry that he seemed to have with Dan Southworth. I thought that was hilarious. Like, he called him Joe from Bonanza at one point, and then Dan was like, "Is anyone in this audience even going to know what Bonanza is?" And everyone just started busting out laughing.
It was just like, Kerrigan was like, I don't even know this dude, but I love him.
Yeah. And that was the thing. I went back to Kerrigan's booth on Sunday, and the first thing he asked me, he's like, "Who was that guy at the After Dark?" And I said, "Oh, you mean the guy in the black T-shirt?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "That's Dan Southworth. He was the Quantum Ranger in Time Force." And And Kerrigan was like, "Oh, one of those later seasons." So I thought that was hilarious. That panel was my favorite, but I also really enjoyed the Paul Freeman Q&A. It was Sunday morning when pretty much half the hotel was checking out at that time. So there was only at most 30 people for that panel. So he was just chilling with the audience and talking with us, and a lot of really cool Indiana Jones movie information. And I think I was pretty much the only one, aside from Lisa J over at No Pink Spandex, who was monitoring the panel. I was the only one asking the Ivan Ooze questions. But I thought that was a really great panel. And then the Zyurangers, just to see them and to hear their stories about filming the show was pretty incredible. And I really liked that behind-the-scenes video they showed of all the different stunts that they were doing and that they did themselves.
That was really neat. I enjoyed that panel very well.
Next, here's the big thing, why we're all broke.
No, I'm why you're all broke.
Yeah.
What?
I'm why you're all broke.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about purchases and hauls. So, Jordan, what did you end up getting?
I don't think it's fair for me to go first.
Okay. RJ?
Let's see. I got a couple... I'm not sure what the name is. Jordan, you'll know because you watched Drive. The police shift car.
Justice Hunter.
That's it. I got the candy toy version of it because I might not watch Drive, but I'll buy the police theme crap. I got a Jungle Fury Wolf Morpher for $15. Holy shit, a holy grail is obtained. I got a Go Ride Changer the last day of the con. The Thunder Morpher from Ninja Storm in pretty good shape. And one of the more noticeable purchases was the Power Morphicon coin from Henshin Vault, thanks to Jordan.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Matt, how about you?
Well, first comment is beginner's luck. All right. I scored a Legacy Morpher for $60 off of Isaiah. I scored that. I bought 2 shirts. I bought the Forever Red shirt at the front desk, I guess you can call it that. And I bought the Lexington Comic-Con coin. I got like 5 Zyurangers, like the ones for the Zeo Jet Cycles. I've actually been looking for those now. And I think that's pretty much it. Besides like the 2 shirts that I got. But like I said, it was beginner's luck.
Well, and then you got that sweet armored Red Ranger signed by Austin St. John.
Yeah, that was amazing. I was just like, if I get called, I'm going for that because I have the Red Ranger somewhere.
For me, I got all of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers battle bikes, thanks to Jordan and his egging, I guess. Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome.
But those were a really good price, actually, so I'm quite happy with them. And the fact that they'll go well with my figure arts, I think that's pretty cool. All of the autographs I got this weekend, of course. Something kind of odd that the Zyuranger guests gave out to people that were in their line. It was a small paper bag, and in it was a flyer for Spicy Sauce Co. hot soy sauce. And the flyer had the different color bottles of the soy sauce, but they were all the different Power Ranger color bottles. And the logo was a rip off the Power Rangers logo. And so it was so random to get something from a guest. And I thought that was pretty cool. I think maybe that was like a Japanese honor thing. Like, well, we're so honored to be here. Here's a gift for you as well. So I thought that was kind of cool. All the VIP swag stuff, the shirt, all that stuff. I got a Sid Lockseed from Japan Hero Collectibles for a really good price, actually. The Lexington coin that I think, we all got now. And there was some free swag they were giving away at the CW booth that was upstairs for the convention. So I got like an iZombie poster, an Arrow poster, the iZombie brains. Oh, and I got a little from Jordan. I got the little Kamen Rider Fies minifigure.
Oh, the 66 action, yeah.
Yeah, the 66 action, which I had a lot of fun with, taking some different pictures, and I think that started my bug to collect all of those. So, yeah.
I'm glad I could be of service.
Yes. And, okay, so Jordan, what did you get? You made out like a bandit.
I did. I do this pretty often, so I did spend a bit of money, quite a bit, but I also traded quite a bit of things with the guys at Ranger Stop to get some stuff right up until the last couple minutes of the show.
Nice.
Okay, I'll run down it quick. I got a vintage Rito Revolto figure. I got a vintage Ivan Ooze figure. Super Legends Lord Zed. A vintage Blue Centurion. I got the Zeo reissue of Goldar, which I then got signed by Kerrigan.
Nice.
I got a vintage King Ranger with Ole Bazooka figure. It's really more for kickback than it is for me, but still.
Yeah.
I also got the Henshin Vault Gold Ranger belt buckle replica. I bought one of the Power Morphicon coins, and then subsequently talked Uchi and Kentucky Jam to buy the last two that they had in existence. I got 2 of the LexCon exclusive power coins, one to give away for the site, a DX G phone from Gal Ranger, a Masterpiece G2 Sideswipe, an Art of Transformers Prime hardcover, a Voltron hardcover, a Taco Tank set from Beast Wars 2nd. I got Beast Wars Neo Heinrid. And I got the generic Mecha Robo Key from that Bandai Premium Ranger Key set.
Good lord!
Oh, wait! And a Legacy Dragon Zord and a Combiner Wars Optimus Prime. There you go.
My wallet just went.
My God!
Yeah,
burning a little bit.
Didn't you win the Henshin Vault?
Oh, I did.
Raffle?
They had 4 items for raffle, and one person won 2 of them, that being the Legacy Morpher and a set of SH Figuarts Akiba Rangers. That was not me. I was not that person. I won an Armored Might Red Ranger and a Gosei Morpher that I then rolled into a trade with the Ranger Stop guys for that vintage Ivan Ooze.
Nice.
Very nice.
Sweet. Oh, and the funny thing, sorry, no, this is really funny. When I went to go up to registration to prepay for our booth for next year, one of the organizers was like walking by up to the counter to talk to her people, and she dropped a pin, and she was like, "Oh, will you get that for me?" And they just kind of looked at her and like laughed. So I bent over and picked it up for her, and she said, "Well, thank you. That's chivalry." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, clearly it's deserving of a free T-shirt, right?" And then I get done filling my paperwork out, and they just gave me a VIP T-shirt for free.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I cleaned up. I had a really good show this year. So.
Yeah, it seems like it. Holy crap. Yeah, now that we're all broke, let's talk about our overall impressions of the convention, con organization, maybe some good, or if there were any negative points.
My overall impression was that it was still a good show, especially if you like this kind of stuff. The organization seemed to be a bit better this year. I liked the multicolored badges that they used, clearly, or I wouldn't have them all. But I like that system being in place. It's not something you could really repeat for years after that, because unless you mix the colors, because people could just wear the old ones, and if you're not paying attention, they can get in. But overall, I thought it was organized very well. The panels were maybe a little too close together, I think, to really be able to make it to all of them and enjoy them. Right. If you wanted to go to 1 or 2 at a time, it was fine. But if you wanted to go to, say, the Austin St. John panel and like the Zyuranger panel right after one another, you were kind of, up the creek without a paddle on those, because you would not be able to make it to them. But overall, it was organized very well.
It seemed less crowded, and as Jordan said, I guess the attendance was a bit lower than last year. But since they had the upstairs con floor, it kind of felt like everybody wasn't all squished in the main con floor. Mm-hmm. So it felt like you had more room to kind of look around and see what you want to buy.
I thought that was a very great idea for the convention. I have not seen a lot of conventions do that, where they have basically 2 separate dealer areas, and I thought that was very nice. And it was definitely a good way to get a break from the main hall downstairs.
I would disagree only a little bit. As someone who does do these things as an exhibitor, what you run into is, if you're one of the unlucky people who winds up being stuck taking a booth upstairs versus the main show floor, you have much less traffic, and in the case of the Lexington Convention Center, it's just not all that easy to get to without going through the main lobby. And as you can see, like when people come into the convention itself, they're kind of like narrowed down to that one set of doorway that go past the elevator that takes you up to that floor. So it's kind of hard to get to it unless you go up 2 sets of escalators further out in the lobby. So it can be a little bit of an inconvenience, but as a retailer, you see less business when you're split up like that. So,
right, I can see that point, too.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to cut you off, RJ. Any more thoughts?
That's fine. I'd also have to say, since they had the bigger ballroom for mostly the PR panels this year, it felt like they had that, set up a bit more. Everybody, they didn't have to turn anybody away for the After Dark panel, because I think last year they turned away a lot of people for the After Dark.
And for 2013, it was a much smaller space. And it was like standing room only, and they were turning people away left and right. So I'm really glad that they packed that panel.
Yeah, it was good for that. And since they did kind of have all the PR panels in that room, even though they were kind of right after one another, but they were in the same room, so you didn't really have to move much. But pretty good con overall, though.
Nice. Matt?
Oh, let's see. For my first Comic-Con convention, I have to say it was pretty good, especially having access to the VRP pass. It made it a lot easier just to be able to get through and out of the con. And thanks, by the way, for that.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Other than that, I had a blast. I plan on going again probably 2017. 2017 is probably my next trip to Lexington.
Yeah, because with 2016 you got Power Morphicon, so gotta save up for that.
Yeah, that's where all my extra money's going to.
Yeah, definitely. Overall, I thought Lexington knocked it out of the park this year. Again, it really impressed me that they got most of the entire space for that convention center. It was very well laid out. I didn't have any problem finding any of the guests or any of the booths or anything like that. So it was definitely well laid out. I thought the traffic, it wasn't terrible. Saturdays are going to be packed for any convention. I really liked how they did registration this year. I thought that was very well organized. My only thing there is I wish that maybe the VIP access on Friday for preview night started a little earlier, because having the registration open up at 2, you got to wait like 4 hours before you can really do anything. So, I don't know. For me, I would think maybe moving up the preview night by an hour or 2 would be nice. And I have to agree with you guys about the panel organization, especially with the Power Ranger stuff. Having a few back-to-back, and that's why I missed the David Yost panel, since it was right after the Paul Freeman. So I was bummed that I missed that, but, I mean, what can you do? But I thought it worked out in some advantages, because, like, for the Zyuranger panel being right after Austin St. John, even though they said clear the room, I didn't clear the room, because I was like, okay, I'm pressed, so I can just stay in here, right? But at the same time, Austin went over on his panel and was doing that raffle, so I was just like, oh yeah, I've got a raffle, I'll just stay here. And then when they cleared out, they let the people who were lining up for the Zyuranger panel in, and I booked it to that second row. But I think it sucks if you want to attend both, that if you're just a regular attendee and they say clear out the room and you have to clear out, well, now you're all the way in the back of the Zyuranger panel line. So I can see that being a problem for most people. So I would say maybe stagger the Power Ranger panels, at least break them up in between, like put a panel in between each one. And finally, any favorite standout moments at your time at the convention?
Well, I think my favorite moment was our coloring with a K with Kerrigan, honestly. Yeah. That's probably my favorite thing that we did.
Mine too. And then, obviously, hanging with you guys, seeing other friends on Twitter and getting able to meet them for the first time. So, overall, that's pretty much my favorite moments. It's because of my friends.
I'd have to say the same thing. I mean, meeting the ASJ and them, that was awesome, but just getting to finally meeting you and meeting Jordan again. And I also met Josh and Logan from the Just Us Geeks, where I do the Toku Tuesday articles. It's just fun time to hang out with friends more than it is anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with all you guys. Like, interacting with, like, people from Twitter and all that, and getting to take pictures of all the cosplayers, it made the con, like, a lot of fun. It really did.
Can I say I had a runner-up when it was meeting RangerGrant for the first time? because we were just walking down the show floor, and I was doing Twitter posts for the Toku Nation Twitter, and I just looked over at his phone, and I saw that he was like thumbing through, and I was like, "Oh, are you reading my posts?" And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, are you reading my posts as I put them up?" He's like, "That's you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's me. I'm in charge of the account today." And he's like, "Oh, you take all the pictures?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, that's me." And then he's like frantically looking at the pictures on his phone. He's like, you did these. And I was like, "Yes, I am DenO. That is me."
Well, I'm going to talk with Grant tomorrow. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. But this was my first time seeing Grant in literally 10 years. I first met him back at YomaCon 2005 that had all the SPD Rangers at. And back then, he was like 12 years old. So he was just this little kid. And then meeting him again, that was like the first thing I said to him. I'm like, "Damn, you really grew up." So also hanging out with him, in addition with you guys, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, it was a great con experience overall. And it was really fun. So finally, we're going to read we got a few answers for our Ranger Nation Ask, where we asked, what was your favorite moment of LexCon? So on Twitter, House Dragonface at Carrie Clan said, from the other side of the internet, the biggest thing that stuck out was the cosplay. All of it was top. And I have to agree, there was some amazing cosplay out there.
Yes, there was a lot of good cosplay. I think particularly the Japan Hero people had new costumes on every day at their booth.
Yeah, and I know both of them. And yeah, I mean, their costumes were incredible. And you guys, everyone should go check out Japan Hero Collectibles. They've got some really good stuff.
I say the best two cosplays that I've seen was probably the Geki cosplayer and the Astronomer cosplayer. Those two were, like, incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw Barai cosplayer. My friend Lehman was that guy. Yeah, that was really cool. A lot of very talented Ranger cosplays out there. Saw some Dino Charge / Kyoruger suits, which was really cool too. Next, Ranger Girl and Gokai Ranger. That's Liz. I had the pleasure of meeting her and her husband at the convention. Very nice people. She said, 1 was when I found my phone after losing it at a bar. 2 was meeting people I've been tweeting with for a while. 3, walking around as Super Mega Force Yellow, taking pics with so many fans and kids. The kids' faces were priceless. And 4, the best, someone told me Zordon was looking for us in suit and wants us to see him. I was summoned by Zordon. And then Matt at Zero the Hero, I also got to meet him. He's a fun guy. He said, meeting the guests from Japan, they were incredibly nice and seemed to genuinely love meeting everyone. And then finally on Facebook, Darren Moser at Dr. Sci-Fi said, my favorite part was experiencing it vicariously through Ranger Command and Ranger Nation on Twitter. That and any Goldar sound clips.
Yeah, I actually seen a video on Facebook of they have like Paul Freeman doing a line, and they would go to Kerrigan and have him like continue that line. It was when the Rangers got the Ninja Zord in the movie.
Yeah, that
was pretty neat. I enjoyed that little clip.
Yeah, and the couple times I heard Paul Freeman do Ivan Ooze was at the MMPR panel, which he ended up kind of crashing because he originally wasn't supposed to be on the panel. And he did my absolute 2 favorite lines from the movie, where's my autograph book, and I smell teenagers. And it was hilarious. And I'm actually glad I have that audio. Well, guys, I want to thank you for being on the show today and also hanging out at Lexington. It was a lot of fun.
It was.
I had a blast.
And then Power Morphicon next year.
Yeah.
PMC or bust.
I'm still not sure if I can get there, but I will try to.
Just get extra tips at the Olive Garden. Oh, that was another one of my hauls. It was the Olive Garden koozie.
Maybe I should
I got one of those too.
Yeah, but see, I work in the back on the line. I don't get tips. I should try and be a server, though. But, I'm just going to work my ass off. I'm so not driving that far, so I'll find a cheap airplane.
Hey, man, flights to San Diego this year were murder, so I look forward to flying to Pasadena on a week when it's not a huge international convention, so the tickets won't be outrageous again.
Right. Oh, good Lord. All right. Well, thank you guys. And until next time, adios.
Yeah.
Woo! Yup. Hey, where are you going? There's still more Ranger Command Power Hour, including my Lex Con talk with RangerGrant and the best of the Lexington Comic and Toy Con Power Ranger panels. Hey.
What's up, Eric?
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. I got a little bit of a sore throat going on. It started today. I don't know if it's that con crud or what.
Yeah, it might be. You know, I'm sure the convention was not the most sanitary place.
Exactly. So how's it going?
Pretty good. It's kind of hectic, you know, being right back at school after spring break. And then, like, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. And
yeah, pretty crazy.
Yeah, just crazy couple weeks trying to cram a lot of
Yeah, I hear you. So, I already did the news, and unless you wanted to comment on any of that, the episode titles or James Galen returning to Power Rangers.
It's cool that we're getting, you know, this Gold Ranger arc.
It's really cool. I mean, when was the last time we had an arc like this for a buildup of a 6th Ranger?
Right.
It's been a while.
Yeah, maybe Gem and Gemma, they kind of have a little arc, but I'd say I'm trying to remember, not much, if anything. But, I mean, you know, they just touched upon it in this episode this weekend, and now it looks like all these descriptions kind of mention it.
Yeah, it's like, well, all 3 of them end with the word Terrazord, so it's more like the focus on the Zord than the actual Ranger, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, because none of them actually mention Gold Ranger.
And it sucks because, you know, the 10th episode, it's probably going to be on this big cliffhanger right before the huge hiatus.
Did they confirm that the hiatus is after 10?
It's looking like that's going to be the case.
Okay.
Last year, they only did up to, I think it was 8 episodes last year.
Right. But there also weren't holiday specials last year.
Yeah, that's true. They may be doing a couple more here to fill in the holiday specials.
Right. I mean, at least if we got 11, because I would think they would want to introduce Gold before summer just for, like, toy sale reasons.
Yeah, that's true. But none of the Gold Ranger stuff, I don't think any of that's coming until the fall.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be just in time for when he debuts.
And now, I didn't watch Kyoryuger, but did Cyan debut before Gold?
Yes, but it looks like with the episode descriptions, they're going to introduce the Zord first, but not the Ranger.
Okay.
And there was that throwaway line that Kendall said that, you know, when an Energem is claimed, the Zord awakens. So if the Zord is awake, that means there's a Ranger out there somewhere already active.
Truth.
It's going to be interesting. They're really doing their own story with this, which I think is great.
PR is always better when it does its own thing, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what about James Galen coming back?
I know we talked about this a little bit over the weekend, but I mean, I think it's great. You know, I think he's been in almost every Disney season, maybe save for 1 or 2.
Yeah, pretty much as, you know, a voice
or
at
least a monster
or actor. Yeah.
Hopefully that just means if we do get our DenO battle at some point next year, we see
Zeltrax.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be really cool. Ever since this story broke, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, he's Shelby's dad. Does that mean that's also
Truman?
Yeah. Is it her brother, Scott? I don't think Shelby has... I think it's Shelby Watkins.
Yeah.
Not Shelby Truman. So, I don't know. People are kind of going a little crazy with that for some reason.
My gut says it'll be a new character. He'll be playing a new character, but...
Yeah. Maybe they'll give him, like, a goatee or something. So, LexCon, man. Have you ever been to this particular convention before?
I have not. This was my first convention at all in just about 10 years.
Okay. Well, okay, for those that are listening, a little backstory. I met Grant in 2005 at Youmacon with the SPD Rangers that were there. I mean, you were just a little kid. You were
12,
like a little,
12.
Yeah. You're 2 years older than my brother, so I took my brother to the convention too, and that was his first convention. So Was Youmacon your first ever convention?
Yep. It wasn't until that summer before that my Aunt Kim had even told me about the convention scene and that was even a thing.
Oh, wow.
So,
as a 12-year-old kid, I mean, just like my brother who was 10 at the time, that just must have been insane for you.
Oh, yeah. And especially since it was a very intimate convention with the SPD cast, I felt like.
Oh, yes, very, very much so.
Like, we got to really got to, like, hang out with them. And, you know, they even came and kind of partied with us. Like, yeah. I guess I wasn't really partying. I was just 12, but...
But, yeah, it was crazy because, I mean, they had 2 panels that weekend. And I remember during the second panel, they're like, all right, so we're back at it again. Like, are we going to have anything to talk about?
Right.
So that was pretty crazy. In those 10 years, you've never really gone to any more conventions? Or?
I mean, you know, I was still young, you know.
Yeah.
For most of that. I wanted to, it just I never really got the money to. And, you know, MorphiCon was just kind of way out of the question because it would involve flying and whatnot.
Yeah.
But earlier I was thinking about maybe making Power MorphCon 5 my return to the convention scene. But, I mean, once I figured out that I could make LexCon work, I'm really happy that I ended up coming to LexCon this year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Which actors did you meet this weekend, and did you get any autographs or mementos or anything like that?
I at least talked to all the Ranger actors
and
the Sentai actors, so that was pretty awesome because none of them were at Youmacon, so I hadn't met any of them prior to this. Autographs, I got a couple from David Yost, a couple from Paulie and Jason Narvi, Paul Freeman, and I think that's it. And then I got a really cool professional photo with Austin St. John, David Yost, Walter Jones, Karen Ashley, and Catherine Sutherland.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's cool. It's like kind of a full MMPR team, in a sense.
Yeah, there you go. So out of all of them, was there any experience meeting any of the actors that probably was your favorite? Or
I just think Paulie and Jason are just like a riot all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious. Just coming to their booth, they had this couch behind their booth that they were just cutting up with an X-Acto knife and scribbling all over and just...
Yeah, that was a tradition, the Couch of Doom. That was a tradition they started back at the 2013 con, which I was at. And by the end of that convention, that couch was absolutely destroyed. Every year since then, they've brought back the tradition.
That's awesome for them. Keep it going, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And then let's talk about the panels. Which panels did you go to, and did you have any favorite moments or overall favorite panels?
I think I went to all of the Ranger-related ones. I'm trying to think if there were any I did not go to. Yeah, as far as I know, I think I went to all the Ranger-related ones. I think my favorite had to have been After Dark, just because...
Oh, yeah.
I had never been to an After Dark panel before, and, you know, it really lives up to its name of just laughs all night, and... You really see another side of some of the actors.
Yeah, the first After Dark I went to, again, it was 2013 Lexington, but I thought this one topped it by far.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was completely hilarious. And you never know what you're going to get every time.
And
it's different every single time.
And we didn't even know who was going to be there. And
Right.
the panel had over doubled from the time it started by the time it was over. It was really awesome. Just, you know, people just kept walking in the door. The crowd would roar. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about the After Dark panel. It's like you never know what you're going to get. You never know who's going to unexpectedly show up. Every time there was an entrance made, I mean, the jokes were flying, and it was really cool. And then it wouldn't be a convention without buying stuff.
Just destroying our wallets.
Oh, yeah, God. I blame Jordan for most of that, for at least my wallet damage. So, what did you end up buying at the con?
So that professional photo was probably the biggest expense. That was, you know, since it had all 5 actors in it, they all got a cut of it, and then, you know, you got to pay the photography company too. But, you know, in the end, it's not every day that you get to take a photo like that with 5 Power Rangers. And then, you know, the rest of autographs and photos. But that actual like physical hauls, a JC's convention coin was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I also got that Black Ranger challenge coin he makes. I think he makes a challenge coin for each of the Mighty Morphers.
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
Nice.
I got an Aka Ninja vinyl figure and an 8-inch Zyuranger 4 with both of its accessories. So that was pretty exciting.
I really like that figure that you got. That was a good find.
Yeah, I mean, and had it not had the accessories, I don't know if I'd picked it up, but that was really cool for $10. It had both of them.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. Yeah, so the Black Ranger Challenge coin, well, you were showing me pictures over that weekend, and you have a really nice Atom display.
Thank you.
So it's going there,
yeah,
right?
definitely. I think I'm going to put it next to the Black Ranger key on one side and then have his other two Ranger keys on the other side. So
Nice.
I won't be able to put it there till I get back home after exams, but I'm looking forward to it.
Now, what was your overall impression of the con, and any thoughts on like con organization and, maybe the good, the bad, what you liked, what you didn't?
I mean, I guess I really don't have too many cons to compare it to. Like I said, only one 10 years ago, but I thought for the most part, everything was pretty organized. I mean, all the panels happened on time. Most of the Rangers were there like Friday night and at their booths most of the day. I went and got that professional photo op that happened on time. So kudos to you, Lexington. You did a pretty good job with this convention. Anything I'd change about it? They seemed to manage the chaos pretty well. The most chaos being on Saturday, I think.
Any Saturday for any convention is going to be the craziest. But yeah, I think they handled it really well.
I think so too. How about you? Was there anything that you thought they could have done better?
Yeah, well, we were talking about this yesterday, the rest of the guys last night. But I was thinking maybe not have some of the Power Ranger panels back to back, because I think they pretty much clear the room every time unless you're, press or something like that. So it kind of sucks if, you're on one panel and they say, get out, and then the line for the other panel has already lined up out the door. So I thought maybe they could work that out, spread the MMPR, like maybe have a buffer panel in between each one.
Yeah.
Just so people have a chance to line up and have a chance to see all of them. I know I missed the David Yost one right after the Paul Freeman Q&A, just because I had to check out of my hotel room and get everything to the van. So I'm sorry that I missed that one, because it seemed like, from what people were telling me about that panel, that seemed like a really amazing panel.
Yeah, David Yost was getting kind of deep on us with some of the questions he was asked. But yeah, on Sunday they had 5... I guess Ranger-related panels back to back, all in the same room. And I know they were trying to kick people out, like, between them. But to be honest, I never left that room. I guess they just really wanted it to clear, just so that people weren't standing around who weren't sticking around for the next panel. But And then even the times, I think after one or two of the panels, I asked if I'm staying, can I stay? And they were all like, yeah, that's fine. So I don't know if that was just poor communication on their part, or if I was just lucky, but
yeah. And I know after the ASJ panel, they had the Zyurangers right after,
right?
And they were kind of doing like the raffle for ASJ towards the end as they were setting up for Zyurangers, and they're like, "Oh, only stay if you're for the raffle," and I'm kind of like, "I'm not for the raffle, but I'm staying."
Yeah.
And I kind of took a quick peek out the door, and yeah, the line for Zyuranger was really huge, and I'm like, "There's no way." So when the ASJ people cleared out, I jumped in that second row, and then it's like that's when they unleashed the floodgates, and everyone was like, "Boom." So, yeah, it was a little crazy. So I think a buffer might be good. Maybe spread it out a bit more. Like, yeah, having 5 Ranger panels on Sunday I thought was pretty crazy.
Right, and especially there were only 2 plus After Dark on Saturday. Like,
yeah.
I think they could have maybe balanced that out a little bit.
But aside from that was really my only issue with the convention. I actually liked the upstairs small vendor hall. It was kind of a nice break from the main hall.
I like that too.
And
yeah.
Jordan was saying it might not be good for some of the exhibitors in terms of traffic or whatever, but every time I went up there, I thought it was fairly well packed.
Yeah, definitely. As far as that room could be packed, I thought so too.
Yeah. It's just there's no real easy way to get up there from the main floor.
Right.
They have that bank of elevators, but that's kind of like outside the main entrance for the other hall. And otherwise, if you didn't take the elevator, you have to go up, 2 escalator flights in the main lobby. So I don't know. Maybe if they could figure out a better way to do that.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was just trying to work with the venue they were at. But
oh yeah,
it was just. I also thought it was weird that if you were leaving that downstairs hall, it was almost like you were leaving where you checked in, and then to go upstairs. I thought that was kind of weird. I mean, I guess they had to put it somewhere, and that probably made the most sense.
Other than that, I thought it was damn well organized.
Yeah, I've heard some stories of some people saying other conventions in the past have just been messes all around and just the staff not knowing what they're doing or what's going on. And I didn't really see much of that this weekend, which was awesome.
All of the panels started on time.
Yeah.
There was no crazy panel schedule changes at the last minute. So, yeah, I thought it worked out really well.
Definitely.
Last thing, what were some of your just overall favorite moments of the convention?
A few things. I mean, first off, just getting back in the convention scene and seeing people like you and Mike and Lisa J and Jer, all those people who I met back at UMACon 10 years ago and haven't seen since. I thought that was awesome. And then, meeting some of the new fans, too, that I had never met before. All the cast and crew, they're all amazing people. They're all so kind or making us laugh. Actually seem like they genuinely care about their fans, which is always great. And then just like I mentioned, like the panels, especially After Dark, and I thought Bulk and Skull was pretty funny. Too bad you didn't get to stick around for that one.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, just Paulie and Jason up there being goofballs for an hour.
Although even without their panel, I still got a decent amount of them during the other panels.
Yeah. The Zyurangers, they seem very appreciative of their fans over in the United States and, very humbled to be there at their first U.S. convention. Yeah, it was a really great weekend. Here's to more conventions, I hope Lexington next year gets just as awesome as Ranger lineup, and I'm sure Morphicon next year, too. We'll have a massive guest list.
Yeah, if it was anything like last year, it's going to be insane.
Right. And then just hope, more. I get to come out and meet more fans and hang out. It was a lot of fun. It was sad when it was over on Sunday.
I was sad when I was driving away. I'm like, oh, there's all my friends. Bye.
Right.
So, Grant, where can people find you online?
Mostly right now, I'm just on Twitter at RangerGrant. Easy enough. Follow me on there. I've been better about tweeting. I have some pics of my displays, like the Atom one we mentioned, and just trying to tweet more often now.
Awesome. Well, Grant, thanks for sharing your thoughts on Lexington, and it was great seeing you again after all this time, and I'm glad you're back into the fandom and back on the convention scene.
Thank you for having me, Eric. It was great to see you as well, and here's to an awesome years to come.
Exactly. All right, man. Thanks.
You too. Have a good one.
Next up is the best of the Lexington Comic and Toy Convention Power Rangers panels. First up is the Turbo Q&A panel.
Zeo Turbo and my name is Johnny Bosch. The Kia Breeze, I play Tanya, and Zeo Turbo, the Turbo movie.
Blake Foster, I play Justin Stewart, the Blue Turbo Ranger.
Who to all of you? I'm Hillary Shepard. I was Diva Tox in the Turbo movie and on series.
I'm not worthy.
No, you're not. All right, are we going to open up with questions?
Where would your character be today in the show? That's my first question.
Where would our character be today in the show?
Yeah, to progress on, where would they be? What would they be doing?
Mine would be a missionary in the hills singing songs. With my Instagram.
think, I don't know, I think Justin will probably be, like I told you at my table, will probably be a professor somewhere teaching in some type of university or maybe a martial arts studio. I don't know. He was the smart kid. That's why he was in high school when he was 12, right?
I would be thrice divorced. Probably in prison. Or on an episode of The Real Housewives of Outer Space. And I think they already made me marry Tommy, so I'd probably be married to him and doing some humanitarian work. She's very philanthropic, so something.
What did you do before Power Rangers Turbo?
Oh, before Power Rangers Turbo. I did a lot of stuff actually before Power Rangers Turbo. I was acting pretty much since I was 18 months old. I was a Huggies baby. So, yeah, it's funny, right? I was doing a lot of stuff. I was doing Boy Meets World. I did Walker, Texas Ranger. Played Peter Brady in the Brady Bunch. Yeah. I was acting, so... And then that's how I got the role of Power Rangers. I was actually doing an independent film at the time, and the director was the producer of Power Rangers, Shuki. He was like, "You want to be a Power Ranger?" Yeah, sure do. Heck yeah. And then I met Austin St. John, I believe, the next day on set, and Amy Jo Johnson, he brought them to set. I was a huge fan of mine from growing up watching Power Rangers, so it was really cool.
Your Instagram, you were talking about using like State Farm commercial.
Yes.
How long of a process is it to film that commercial, like the museum? I mean, how long does it take?
It's so funny. You get a 15-second spot or a 30-second spot, and it takes all day to film. Especially when you're filming with kids. And Blake could probably talk about that because he was a Huggies baby. His parents probably told him how long it might have taken. But there were actually 2 babies for that commercial, and they were not related. And it was really, really hot that day. We were filming in downtown Los Angeles. And when they brought the baby, when I was filming, it was just a carriage. There was no baby in it. So we just did our little interaction. And then they brought the baby in. And they just needed the baby to look forward, to look to the side to see the mime, and then to look at mom. And that took about 3 hours just to do. And they kept switching out the babies because when we were like, next, bring another baby. Yeah, it was crazy. We were like watching on the monitor. Please don't cry. Next, bring in the baby. It was funny because you get to see the parents who really want their baby to be in. Because if the baby doesn't make the cut, then they don't get the residuals. So the moms are just, come on, honey. Because they're like, they have a little, what is it called?
Turbo Go.
They have the turbo belt with a hanging ranger. So it's an all-day event.
So my question is for Diva Talks. I mean, you were the main villain of the whole show. I mean, do you have any funny stories to share with us about your evil cast or working with the guys?
Well, the day that I got the movie was the day I was pregnant. So
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. So I was naturally evil because I was nauseous and throwing up. And I was in my outfit and my boobs just kept getting bigger and bigger. And they finally came to me and said, look, you're going to be on the TV series, but you've got to cover those up. I'm like, don't worry, by the time I get on this TV series, I won't have these anymore. Yes.
Who would you rather go on a long road trip with, Porto, Rygosh, or Elgar?
Elgar is my favorite.
I've been on road trips with all of them. They're all dumb as a box of rocks. Yes.
I've got a question. Were those actual working, functioning cars in Turbo? Like, did somebody? So they built them from scratch.
They had they would have a real car, and then they had someone build onto it, like the guy who did it back. Yeah, he came in and fitted them out to make them look like the
George Barris.
George Barris.
Are the cars still around today? Or did they get lost?
I'm sure they're in some warehouse somewhere with all George Barris' cars.
Yes.
It's a Batmobile, probably. That'd be cool, sort of blasting next to the Batmobile.
Well, we'd be way in the back.
We actually shot in the Batmobile where the cave where I go in to marry Malachor
didn't even know this until 2 days ago. I went to my buddy's house and he has pictures of the turbo vehicles at Universal in the water. Really? Yeah, and I was like, I sent Aaron a picture. I was like, I don't even remember this. And they must have used like some type of set at Universal for when the cars were in the water when we were from the Ghost Galleon, because he was taking pictures in front of all of our cars, and I was like, that's crazy. And my friend, he was taking pictures with the turbo vehicles, and we didn't even know each other back then.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
He's a stalker.
What provisions did they give you when you created the character of Demon Tox?
I mean, there was a whole script, and they showed me drawings of what she would look like.
Okay.
Because they knew that I was in the Groundlings doing comedy improv and things. They sort of trusted me, and I just would start improvising, and they would just say, go with it, go with it. And Shuki, who ended up directing it, and I had it was a really great connection, and he just knew I could, we just had a great kind of chemistry, and he would just let me go crazy and say whatever I wanted to say. And I was feeling really evil because I was Freeman in a freaking costume and heels. Stuff was just flying out of my mouth.
If you guys have to really just say your absolute favorite episode of the time that y'all was all on the show, what would you say was your favorite episode and why?
Countdown to Destruction.
Woo!
Good answer.
Countdown to Destruction. You gotta love that. Locust Skull finally got to actually be effective combat. Effective combat. As opposed to failing.
In space.
Yeah.
In space, yeah.
In space!
Probably my first different shape pain when I was kind of transforming from evil to good. That whole series I really liked.
I have two. Sorry.
You're fine.
And they both had to do with singing. So a song Sun Yellow when Adam and Rocky were helping me make a music video and I got to sing, and then the other one, another song and dance when Jason, Frank, and I couldn't stop singing. We had a spell and we were singing opera the whole time. That was so much fun.
Mine was Little Strong Man. I got bit by the end. I got all the superpowers. I already have superpowers. I don't know why. My hands can give you more powers.
I love the ones where I got to shoot outside, where I was sitting on my giant throne and I had all my minions with my flags and things. I think it was towards the end, Mark, so there were so many extras dressed in outfits, and I got to boss everybody around.
You guys, when you're acting for camera, when you're making a comment about Jason Frank always being on camera making funny faces, the way you're supposed to perform for your fellow actors when you're off camera is because there's a scene, two people are talking to each other. Well, they got to shoot her one time, and then I sit right here for her, and they put the camera over here, and then she's off camera for me. As a professional actor, you're supposed to help your castmate by giving a realistic performance to help them perform as good as they can. But many times we would throw that to the wind and just be, wasn't really professional, mostly.
But it was fun.
It was fun.
You have a question, Jeremy?
Yes.
Yes.
For any of you, what are some of the deleted scenes from the film that didn't make it, that you filmed, anything like that?
We had great fighting. That didn't make it. That Uchi, our second unit director, we originally had. We had a campfire.
Hey, Jason, you're supposed to be the panel right now. Yeah, the panel. What the heck, Jason? What panel?
Yeah, there was the campfire scene, and then the scene I did with you on the boat was a bit longer. They cut that down when you and I are having that little moment. And then there was a scuba diving scene with Nikia and Johnny in the original script, where you guys were scuba diving.
Oh yeah, and had a stunt double that was swimming.
Yeah, that was really amazing. Yeah. So that was a few things. It's just that when they start filming, they realize it's just going to be too long, and it would have been 4 hours long. So they have to cut it.
That would have been awesome.
And that usually means my scenes.
Why is there so much turnover of Rangers? They're replaced so quickly.
Every season?
It's like Menudo. Because probably when people start asking for more money, I think it's what happens.
I think that practically that really is true.
Yeah.
However, it's the Japanese paradigm of new kids and new robots every season, and so the fact that for a few years we actually kept actors on for longer than that was a bit of a departure. And eventually there was a conscious decision on the part of the producers that they wanted to return to the Japanese paradigm so that they could have a fresh start. Because face it, when you're doing shows like this that are based on the previous Japanese series, and those individual series have no relation to each other, it's really, it's tough. We don't have a Star Trek universe where everything kind of makes sense in the grand scheme of things, There's real problems with some of the stories and how they might work together or not work together. So that's why, really.
You answered that very well, Paul. We'll just let him be our spokesperson.
Coach, can I get another foot at table?
You've earned it. You've earned it.
Next is the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Q&A panel.
So how y'all doing today? I got a question for you. Anybody know what time it is? It's different time! That's right. I like it. I like it too. Yeah.
I like it too.
David has spoken. Yes.
What was your experience in these suits?
What was our experience in the suits? Well, the suits are not the most comfortable things to wear. And they zip up in the back, like this. So you can't get out of it by yourself. You need help. It's like somebody, I gotta go to the bathroom. Excuse me. Could you get this down?
Release me from the suit.
Please release me. Let me go. Now, but and when it's in the morning time, when we shoot in the morning, it's really cold and kind of wet, like it would be shooting on wet grass, and it would be really cold. But then when in the summertime, when it got hot, and especially since I had a black suit, the sun on the black suit is really hot. It's really hot.
Hard to bring out a moral when you're fighting, isn't it? I have a question. Mr. Paul Freeman. Mr. Paul Freeman, when you joined the cast of Power Rangers for the feature film that we did in the mid to late 90s, did you have any idea of what you were getting into?
I didn't. Thank you. I didn't have any idea then, and I don't have any idea now.
Do you guys love Eye of the News?
Hi, my name is Steven. First off, you people don't age, so thank you for giving us hope.
What do you mean, you people?
I'm a teacher in a county in eastern Kentucky. And I asked this question to my 8th graders and my seniors at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, and I would be interested to hear from you all if your experience as a Power Ranger or your experience with kind of this like cultural phenomenon thus far were a novel or a short story, what would the moral be and why? Now I'm going to ask the best question.
I would say it goes to a quote that I actually say regularly: life is the adventure you create for yourself. And that would be what it is.
For me, just being able to play Billy and watch my character go through the whole arc of the whole time that he was on the show. I mean, if anything, that character taught me just to always accept myself for who I am and believe in myself no matter what obstacles were coming towards me, no matter who bullied me and threatened me and beat me up.
Two things I hate: books and nerds.
And just, I thought it was great morally, too, that Billy was able to have some amazing friends that supported him no matter what and really helped him develop as a human being. Like Jason taught Billy how to fight, and Zach probably taught me how to dance at some point. Just like,
You should have taught him how to kiss. Oh, sorry.
That was behind the scenes. That wasn't...
tripped. I thought that was a scene. I didn't make the show.
So I don't mean to make light of your serious question. It's a great question. So, but anything, for all of us, we should always believe in ourselves and accept who we are, no matter what the world is saying towards us. That's all.
Paul does not know what the heck we are talking about.
I'm on another planet area.
He was Hamlet once.
I was just curious, after you played Ivan News in the movie, did you ever expect them to come up with another villain based off of Ivan News into the series?
I don't think there could be another one based on Ivan News. There's only one Ivan News.
One and only. Thank you guys.
Can you still say? I'm sorry. Can you still say, "Where's my autograph book"? Do you remember saying?
Where's my autograph book?
One last one. Do you think they should ever bring back Zyuranger?
No, he's annoying.
Was there ever anything in the script or a stunt that you just stopped and say, "You want me to do what now?"
Every day.
Every day.
I remember one episode, and Walter ended up having to do it. It's like where I think we were turning into apes or something like that. Do you remember that episode? You had to go like this. And that was originally written for Billy to do. And I said to one of the producers, I was like, I don't think Billy would do that because I was so uncomfortable with having to imitate an animal. That reminds me of acting class, where they're like, be a dog, be a lion. And I was like, oh, I can't do that on screen. So they ended up writing it for Zach. So I just kind of, I gave it to Zach.
My question is for whoever would like to answer, but basically, do you have like one really good memory or one really good story from anywhere in your time in Power Rangers that you just like to share? It's very broad, but like a funny story that happened early in the set or anything like that.
We during the original series after the I think it might have been after the first season, all the original Rangers were invited to go to FAO Schwartz in New York to go promote the toys. And so we went there, and they had this huge winter storm, and we had been, at FAO Schwartz signing autographs, and they had this big, huge rocking chair we all took pictures in, and we flown together on this plane there. It was like this. It was like a field trip of like Rangers, and we just had this amazing time. And I got pictures of everybody sleeping on the plane that they don't know about. That'll be published in my book later.
What I remember about that trip too is it was most of our first time in New York City, and it was snowing and freezing, and Amy Jo had been going to school in New York, and so she kind of knew her way around, and she took us to her old school, I think it was AMDA, and we went up on the roof, and this guy at the end here, I don't know if you remember this, Austin, but was giving me and Amy Jo a heart attack because he was standing up on the ledge of the building, just balancing himself,
Do you remember that, Jason?
Being crazy.
Do you remember that?
I do now.
But I just will never forget that because it was like a tall building, and here's Austin just standing on the ledge, and I'm like, oh my.
Bro, what are you doing, man? It's icy. What are you doing? Just stop it. You're the Red Ranger. Don't die.
I think what's beautiful about this situation, coming to cons and traveling the country and getting to meet all of you personally and actually seeing you, and getting to connect with you, is that you guys have really, opened the window to how important the show was to you. We were so excited to be actors, and our dreams are coming true, and we got to go to set every day, and we were so excited that we were able to do this. But I don't know that any of us knew 20 years later this show was still going to mean so much to so many people. So I thank you. I tell people all the time, you guys made me fall in love with what we did, so long ago. So it's because of you guys that we understand.
My question is, What was the hardest mission on your team? Like,
Hardest mission.
You know what? For me, I think the hardest mission was keeping each and every one of you happy.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you come and tell us that you love us, we gotta love you back. So that's hard.
How did Billy go from being just, like a regular high school student to like repairing communicators and alpha, all that space technology?
I think Billy's just like a savant. He's like, his intelligence is off the charts, and it is pretty amazing when you think about what he was doing in high school. Like, he had a car that could fly, he built communicators that could teleport people. Like, that's a whole molecular structure thing that I don't personally understand. And, it's repairing fully sentient, multifunctional automatons. It was an honor to play such an amazing character as a C student in real life, because I would have to look up Billy's words in the dictionary to figure out what I was saying, and try to put it all together and sort of make it sound believable. So, what an awesome character. And even though I left the show under bad circumstances, I kind of really like the way that Billy got sent off to another planet, because that's such an awesome story arc that, he got to travel space and he's off there. He's probably a Zordon on some other planet somewhere,
Unfortunately, I was thinking about what David said at the beginning of the panel of worst questions, so maybe this would qualify. The veteran maybe did. Are you actually afraid of fish?
So, me, David, and Billy Cranston.
Me, Austin.
Are two different people.
Right.
So, Billy was definitely afraid of fish.
Right. I'm just wondering if you actually are.
No, I'm a vegan, so I don't eat any animals. So gotcha. I'm not afraid of them. I want to protect them. And I think the way that we destroy animals in this country is disgusting. So if you cannot eat meat, try not to eat any animals.
Yeah. Austin, were you disappointed that when you came back to play the Gold Ranger, you only got, because you didn't get to do very many episodes, and I was a little disappointed when CO ended so quickly after you came back.
No, there was no disappointment. That was the agreement from the start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was to come back.
I was just wondering if you wanted, if you ever wanted to do more episodes, like after you left, it was like, well, it would have been good if I had got to do a little bit more.
I'm pretty good at rolling with it. I had made my stand with the guys. I stood for what I believed in. And later, they came back and said, hey, you want to do Gold Ranger for 17 episodes? I said, sounds cool. And do you want to be evil in the movie? I was like, that sounds cool. And check the box.
That was awesome.
Great time, and that was that.
And speaking of which, Bulk, how could you leave Skull in Los Angeles when you took off for the moon? You remember that? How could you leave Skull? I was so sad I almost cried when you.
Yeah. One, two. So, Narvi waited on the show for over 2 years for me when he really wanted to go off and start college. So that 2 years was a real gift to all of us because we all got to see more episodes with Bulk and Skull. And it was a real gift for me because, once you send one numbnut off, you kind of saw what happened at the end where it's like, yep, I'm Ernie at the juice bar.
Well, thanks again.
How do you...
You want me to ask? He wants to know where Billy stayed at in the ZO Command Center because he was there all the time.
That's a great question, actually. Well, Billy had a little room off to the side. Actually, in that when they redid the command center, there really was a little Billy room off to the side, and there was like a little cot back there that I slept on.
That's called character development.
It was a great question.
And I also just wanted to know, how did you guys' actual martial arts skills come into play when you're on set? So all you guys do you did gymnastics and stuff, Billis, right? Like how much did it come into play when you were actually on set doing martial or doing your scenes and whatnot when you actually had to be martial arts?
Well, go ahead. From day one, when the five of us were cast, before I even got hired, I remember the final audition was in front of the big dogs for Han Saban and 20th Century Fox, and we had these massive choreographed fight scenes that really were their final blessing, and they were like, yeah, okay, he could do it, so on and so forth. Anyway, so every day on set, we worked with amazing stunt choreographers like Jeff Pruitt. Koichi was amazing, and every day we used what we had, but every day we learned more from incredible stunt guys. So it was an everyday thing for everybody.
I remember that day. I remember being impressed because we all had to fight, and we incorporate gymnastics or whatever, to really show them what our characters could do. And I remember watching Jason fight, and it was like, yeah, that was cool. It was like, yeah, that was a good fight, yeah, So I was like, I just remember being impressed with each of the Rangers and what they would bring with it. Like David would do like a round backflip, tuck, and land in karate stance. It was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. So, it was good. It was cool.
My question is, what is your favorite line from the series/movie? So everybody can answer this question.
I want my mommy.
Yeah, I want your mommy.
I have a Noosa's line, actually. That was my other
I spell teenagers.
Mine, I already kind of said it, but a fully sentient multifunctional automaton. How prodigious.
I mean, you were talking to a floating head.
I think you guys already said it. It's time to boogie with the bear.
It's morphin' time! Okay, birthday boy, it's you.
How do your watches work?
You're stumping me here. Well, Billy devised the watches, and they have two buttons on them. One is to speak, and one is to teleport. And so when you hear doop, 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 that's when we say, what is it, Zordon? And then he usually says, there's peril somewhere in the city. And then you push the other button, and it teleports us. And it makes us disappear, and we end up in the command center. Is that cool?
Really good for on spot.
There you go. Happy birthday.
I like all you here, but public school, I think they're stupid.
It's okay, you'll grow up and get it someday.
This is for all the Rangers. Do you miss being a Power Ranger?
Yes, but we get to come back and relive it with you guys. So.
It's hard to miss being a Ranger because you guys make us Rangers every day. So in our lives, every day I meet somebody that goes, dude, you were a Power Ranger, I loved you. Then I'm still a Ranger. So I don't feel like I've left being a Ranger.
Yeah, same here.
Next up is the Power Rangers Baddie Panel, featuring Vernon Wells, Robert Axelrod, Barbara Goodson, and Kerrigan Mahan.
Well, here we are.
Yes, here we are. How do we begin? Let's begin. Are we getting questions to start? Is that how it's working?
I'm not sure how it's working. How's it working? Well, we are, as introduced.
Actually, we're just going to sit here and stare at you. Nobody say a word. I'm terrified of those bloody bad guys.
Does anyone have a question? Yes, sir. In the second row.
I know Power Rangers was based off of the Super Sentai, and a lot of the bad guys had to do voice acting. Did you ever go to Japan to meet the actors who did the
Good question. No, not me. I would have loved to meet Angela Sobo.
They were too cheap.
Already? No, we did not get the pleasure of meeting the people we voiced.
Of course, Lord Ted was not a American invention. It was a Saban invention. It was not a Super Sentai character. Genster was the other character.
But we never met Genster.
I couldn't go meet anybody because my character didn't exist in the series. They wrote it for me, so I would have been standing there looking at it going, dude. But I did have a funny thing with the Japanese actor. I was talking to him and I said, I'm very famous in America. And he said, why? I said, because I killed the Red Ranger. And he just stood there and looked at me and he went, we killed one a week.
Funny. Never got the opportunity here.
What made y'all want to get into Power Rangers as villains?
They will pay this.
Well, we were actors and we were looking for gigs. And this came along and we said, okay, let's do this. And then none of us knew that this was going to be as big as it was. We thought it was just this one-time thing.
And my daughter would kill me if I didn't say my little 8-year-old says hi to Lord Zed, Rita, and the rest of them.
Depending on that answer, we were all working for Saban for years before that. So when the Power Rangers came up, we were handed our roles.
Right.
I was Gangster, of course, at the time.
Vernon's story is different, I think. I mean, I don't know how you wound up with that role, but you...
Everybody else said no, and I wasn't there at the time, so I couldn't. No, they auditioned. I was amazed because I was actually working in Las Vegas, and they brought me down for the first audition. And there was like 40 people in a room, and every one of them I had seen on television, in the league, in a series at one time or another. And I walked in and I went, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm an actor on movies, not on television. And I had one advantage that they didn't have. Uchi, who was the director and executive producer of the whole thing at that stage, I'd just finished doing a movie with him. So it was kind of, let all that audition, we're going to use Vernon anyway.
That's how it works sometimes. That's a nice...
It's not what you know, it's who you know. And by the way, I must apologize for my voice because at least 20 people have come up and gone, do the Ramsey voice. No, I can't bloody talk.
See, the trick is to say, come to the panel. I don't usually do the voice.
Well, it was a tall blonde, I was saying, come to my bedroom.
When I was given the role of Rita, they had me directed me to do the Wicked Witch of the West voice. So I followed her and just be my pretty and make my monster grow. And they came back with people saying, that's not scary enough, so they fired me. It's true. And I said, well, wait a minute, you directed me to do that. If you want it scarier, let me just give it to you scarier. And they said, no, we're going to have auditions. I said, well, may I have an audition? And they said, okay. So I was so pissed off! I came up with Rita! Not knowing it could last for 4 to 5 years or 25 years.
Let's hear from the Catman.
This is for Goldar. You were never, the character was never destroyed in the series?
No.
No. Would you be open to come back as...
Yes.
Just because it was never formally destroyed, bring back.
I watched it with my own eyes just a year ago. I got the box set sent to me after doing an interview. And I'd asked people through the years, what happened to me? They say, oh, you got evaporated in, sand and that thing. So I said, oh, wait a minute. Let's look at this, what the hell is the title of Destruction? Right on. And so I dug that out, and I looked at that, and I watched every frame, and I saw what was happening, and I said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to die here." And it's like, "No, you're not. No, I can come back. Make it happen, you guys."
I guess that makes two of us. I can destroy them.
So there you go. Let's make that happen.
I became a good guy, but that can change. That can always change back.
Rita and Zed were transformed.
Yeah, we were transformed. Do it again and turn him back to bad.
Make it happen.
Yeah,
I
they bring
can't do
Rangers
it.
back. They can bring villains back.
I call Saban, and you saw Gold on me. I'm put on hold, and then he's out of town.
And Austin St. John would love another battle.
He's ready. I'm not sure I'm ready for him. If I had one wish, it would be to have all of the outtakes of my whole career. I just would love it. Deal together with all of that.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want one.
You could get sued.
Actually, I have one funny story. My costume, which had heavy shoulders out here. The toilets in our trailers were rather small. I would go to the toilet in my costume and get wedged in. So the props department would come and pull the toilet apart to get me out. After that happened about 6 times, they just took all the walls out of it. Looked like a little prison cell. You walk through the door and there's a toilet. That's burned.
That company. Well, you could just imagine the things we used to joke with, make my monster grow and things that we would say after that. We did a little banter, but I don't remember exactly. You just have to use your imaginations. I don't know how many children are here, but we played around with big voices and
We did some very, very bad things. You guys are aware that we actually, all three of us, were also putties. Whenever there was a putty session after we finished recording, we just jump in and
For reading Goldar, did you watch Zyuranger just get a feel on how the characters acted before you voiced the characters?
I never saw a frame of anything except when I was recording it.
No, I just saw Machiko Soba's face and tried to fit the new non-fired voice into the mouth flaps without trying to make it fit, which was impossible because it was the same footage over and over and over again with different storylines. So it was terrible dubbing, but there was no choice to do. That was the fun for you. I like it when it works, but no, it works in that way, yeah.
Whenever Lord Zed and Rita got married, were they more destructive in your all's opinion, or more weak?
No, they were more comical, which for me, I enjoyed because it was more like a Lucy-Ricky relationship. And that's where the joy for me is the ad-libbing where she can turn her back and she can go, "Shut up, Rainy, in her face!" We would throw things in that were hours that they kept. I have such a headache. I don't remember how that showed up, but
I think you hit it one day.
I may have said it one day, and then that became a catchphrase. So we played off each other, but you're right. Boy, did we screw up as a team. Well, I wasn't doing too well on my own, and neither was he, so...
Yeah, what is the craziest or weirdest place you've been recognized for your work on Power Rangers in public?
me at McDonald's and said, "Lord Zed, aren't you Lord Zed?"
At a Yankee game, I was going in, and the guy took pictures because he knew who I was of me and my husband. And I thought, gee, I've been carrying a gun with me. I need security, and he let me right through. That was for me.
Mine was a little bit like Robert. I was in a toilet. And the guy standing beside me looked across and suddenly recognized me. This is serious. And he went, "Oh my God, it's Ramsey." And he put his hand out. I had two choices. I was more into women. It was a little scary. Because of some of the other films, I tend to get recognized in weird places by weird people. I was chased down the street promenade in Los Angeles in Santa Monica by a guy in a wheelchair.
On your way to the toilet?
I think if I had a bound, I would have gone. It was just, yeah. I prefer the anonymity of being nobody. It's so much more fun.
I've never been recognized. No. I'm okay with it. But I played the shit out of it in the heyday. I mean, I carried pictures. I got out of moving violations. I got out of radio. I had no shame. I mean, the cop pulled me over on a motorcycle in Hollywood Hills, like now, right? And I was with Richard, actually, Orbitz. And he said, I'm reaching into the back to grab a look and make sure that I have my pictures, which I always carried in these kinds of situations. And Richard says, what are you doing? I said, just watch and learn. Yeah. And so in these days, back then, in 93 it started, so this was probably 95, I would guess, and we're in Beechwood Canyon. And I got nailed for speeding, and we were, I don't know where we were going, doesn't matter. And so this motorcycle cop, I mean, he's riding, he's stereotypical, teardrop, mirror, sunglasses, boots, the whole garb. I mean, he's really full of himself. And in those days, you could get out of the car. It was okay. It was actually accepted, meaning it's okay that you approach the officer. And he's got his book out. He's going. He won't even look at me. Driver's license and registration. And I handed it right to him. And he opens up the book. And he starts. I go, whoa, hold on. And he glances up. I said, I'm Goldar. No Power Rangers. No nothing. Just I'm Goldar. And he looks at me like. And we're in the Hollywood Hills. It's residential. It's like, and he looks at me and he goes through the glasses, do it. He said, it's loud. He said, do it. So I did your line where I said, yes, Empress. I said, how many kids you got? He goes, five. I said, all right, well, let's get signing. And he walks True story. 5 kids, and I stop as he's waiting, and now he's getting cold feet. And I'm trying to write each, personalize it like I do here. Tinny, Daddy takes a bribe. Daddy's a bad cop. And I saw him getting cold feet. I mean, I see he's thinking about, reversing his choice here. And Richard's looking over like basically kind of going, you better move it. This guy he's waffling. And I'm down to the last one. Whatever his name was, just there you go. And he literally took the 5 pictures, didn't even thank me. Just took them. It's okay. He was like, okay, walked right to his motorcycle, opened up his saddlebag, put him in, started his bike, and off he went. And Corbett said, I don't believe what just went on here. And to this day, Richard carries his effing pictures with him.
Well, I hate you for that, by the way.
Sorry.
I got pulled up for speeding, and I don't carry pictures with me. I just happen to have some in the back of the car, and they fall across the seat. The cop comes up, does his seat, looks at the guy and says, "Oh, you're the guy from Road Warrior." And I went, "Yeah." He said, "Think I can get an autograph picture?" And I went, "Yeah." I said, "Of course." He said, "Great, sign here, please."
I'll run you through the...
I hate you.
And I just have one more question. While you were on the show, when you left, was there anything that you kept while you were on the show of your character, whether it's a prop or a piece of your
microphone?
outfit?
I took the mic.
Microphone.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing.
There was really nothing because it wasn't like we had costumes. I mean, I had to buy my jacket. You know, usually the companies give you a jacket.
I actually got to keep the sword and the mask and the whole thing. He gave it to me at the end. I think I'm glad to get rid of him. Give him something.
Well, that's nice. They were a very generous company. So
Oh,
that's
please,
super.
that's not even.
That's the after dark part, I guess, right?
Very generous.
I know you did the voice for Finster. I was just curious. Did you view Finster as evil, or was he just the guy who was good at his craft, and he was just a craftsman who didn't ponder whether his monsters were being used for good or evil or such?
Pretty much. He was into being a scientist, into creating all these monsters, party monsters, and I said, "Oh, I have all these monsters for you." So he was a joyful scientist.
Yeah, he had no ethics at all.
A little bit like Spock.
He just woke up with that.
Forget Bulk and Skull, Rito, and Golar.
Nice. Right on.
You realize what's so scary in here? None of you are 13 years old.
Who else has a question? All right.
Do we care?
For Rita and Lord Zed.
Yes, we can.
Wait, Howard, in the microphone.
All right.
In Operation Overdrive, when Lord Zed and Rita Repulsa's son showed up, how did you guys feel they represented that?
Oh.
Up next is the Paul Freeman Q&A. Paul Freeman played Ivan Ooze in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. For Ivan Ooze, can you tell us the experience and the full experience for the makeup and getting into that costume and what that whole process was like?
It was filmed in Sydney, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and we went over there and I was cast in London. Flew to Sydney, met the designer and the director. And the designer, an Australian called Warren Beach, very clever man, who, incidentally, in order to do the prosthetics, had studied prosthetics in a hospital in Sydney for a couple of years. So he really knew about the mechanics of the body. And he designed the place. He'd also designed those, later on, designed those rock creatures. Remember the sort of cliff that comes alive?
Mm.
He designed that too. The place was made of 5 separate parts of latex. There was one across the forehead which went under my brows, into my eyes here. Another piece that went over each cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Another piece that covered the nose and went up under my lip. Another piece which was the chin piece, which went in the bottom lip.
Okay.
And then the hat thing was put on afterwards, with all the bows on the head. lenses, silver teeth, and I had to drink. This was my idea, because once I got all this purple stuff on, my mouth looked too pink. So every day before we started, I drank some very strong blackcurrant juice. I had a purple tongue as well. It just didn't work. When we first tried it, he got all these pieces together, and it took 7 hours to put it all on. It's stuff, obviously, and it's latex, it's very light. Pardon me. We got it down to 4 hours, so every day I'm going through this process. And you know, with filming, we start early in the morning. They're all starting at 7 o'clock in the morning usually. So I have to be there at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just me and Warren in the caravan. And I carry on sleeping, but I try to sleep as much as I can while he's doing it, because eventually he'll wake up and that's completely stressful. But then I'm stuck. I can't do anything else for the rest of the day. You can't take it off, because it's an hour and a half to take it off. And we do this for about 2 weeks, and then my skin starts to erupt, because nobody has thought about the problems of putting glue on the face every day for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, that coincided with deciding that they had to reshoot a lot of the stuff we'd already shot involving the Japanese monkeys. I can't remember what the characters were called. Which meant that I had to have a week off anyway for my skin to deflate. And so I had the week off, and then we reshot the early part again. And then they had to build in days off, so that I worked for a day and then rested for a day and so on. So that was the process. And at the end of the day, the hour and a half at the end of the day, I would just, because I wasn't able to, because of the teeth, and because of the mask fitting inside the lips, I wasn't even able to eat very much. And I couldn't move very much either, because the costume was very long and heavy. And I had big, they're called Greek shoes, they're kites, which have a sole about that big. So I was stamping around. If I had to move anywhere, they had to carry me. I sat in a wheelchair and pushed me around. And what else to tell you about? Oh, just the process of taking it off. I would be sipping beer. At the end of the day, I needed a drink. Sipping beer from the Guinness from the straw. So they got tubes of Guinness stuck up, and I just collapsed there. I don't smoke, but I started smoking too while I was doing this, while I was taking this thing off. And that was the process.
Thank you.
Your audition process. How did you get the role of Ivy News?
Well, that was an audition. One of the earliest. Nowadays we audition all the time on tape. But that, in those days, you often met with the directors. But because they were already out in Australia setting up the film, I had to do this on tape then. And this was, I'm not quite sure of the date, but we were filmed 20 years ago, so it must have been 21 years ago. And I got this crazy script for this character. And the character originally really did change shape. He was a shapeshifter. That's how the ooze came about. All the scenes ended with him turning into slime and going under a door and coming out as a completely separate character on the other side of the door, which was very interesting and gave me the idea, although the script itself didn't change very much, this idea of him changing into other people all the time had gone by the time I got the job and went to Australia. But it did give me the idea that I could be as free as I liked, which is why I changed my voice as much as I could during the film. From one scene to the other, you know, I did a lot of it imitating W.C. Fields, and I did other imitations of other voices during it, simply because I was having fun with the whole thing, and that was the process of getting that role.
So, what other difficulties that you've had over the years, not just Raiders or Power Rangers, but any other work that you've done?
There is quite a funny story I should tell you about Power Rangers, which was a difficulty. It was these great big boots I was wearing, and in order to move around, I would have to take the boots off, gather the costume up in my arms, so I could move from one side of the set to the other with a bit of freedom. In this one of the sets, they'd made the steps, I didn't find this out until afterwards, of polystyrene. So I was wearing trainers, but I was a bit wobbly on my feet anyway, because I was used to these big kites, these big boots. The step broke and I went down and twisted my ankle very badly. It was very heavy wearing all this stuff. And in case it was serious, I said, I've got to go to hospital and check this out. But of course I had all the purple on. And there was no way I was going to take it all off for an hour and a half and perhaps come back and work in the afternoon when they'd have to put it on again for another 4 hours. So I got out of the costume, I had my t-shirt and jeans on and shorts underneath because it was summer. And they took me to a local hospital in Sydney. So you know how it is when you're in hospital and there's somebody who's done something awful and you pass them in a corridor and you go, oh, I don't want to look at that. What? You know, somebody's got a rifle up their nose or something. Well, that was the reaction I got. They wheeled me out of this car and into they were all small clinics along a sort of rather suburban road, a shopping centre, actually. So a lot of people passing me. There's this man with this purple head with things sticking out all over it. But the rest of him dressed perfectly and being wheeled into the hospital. Then it turned out they took a look at me and looked at them and they said, you'll have to go to an x-ray. To get to an x-ray, you have to go to another clinic further. So they pushed me through this line of shoppers with this stuff around me. And everybody I passed was going, oh, God. That was a little difficulty for a while. The other difficulty about it was that I couldn't then go back to work either, so I had to spend a lot of time with my leg in the air, resting, and I had a very nice apartment above a fish restaurant, and they used to send the food up.
Next up is the Austin St. John Q&A panel.
Wow. So, what is up, Lexington, man? I gotta tell you, I've been to 1 or 2 cities, maybe 3. Actually, maybe like 22 in the last 8 months. And a couple different continents, a couple different countries, and man, I love Lexington. This place is awesome. I love the South.
What was it like being on the set of the show when you came back for ZO?
Well, they definitely started putting money into like the build-ups. I came back and I remember sitting down at the command center right when I came back and we did the reveal after I ran through a desert in a raincoat. I don't remember the exact news. I don't know. But anyway, I remember walking into the set and I was like, wow, this is really cool. This beats the heck out of the old command center. The old command center, they actually had black drapes that they hung up in the background and put little white Christmas lights down because they were that cheap. So I was blown away when I came back. I was like, wow, they got pros in here. You know, real set. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
What was your favorite Ranger to portray? The Red Ranger or the Gold Ranger?
You know, I love them. I get that question a lot, and I love them both for totally different reasons. Jason, as the Red Ranger, he was meant to be no extra frills, no super crazy costume pieces. He was the staple. He was like the center. He was the rock. And they didn't want to give him frills. He was a low-key, walk softly but carry a big stick leader. There was no flash about Jason. And that was the way I wanted to portray him. I wanted him to be stable like that. So I didn't have any of the frills or, the mantles. Well, I mean, I guess I used Tommy's for like a week. But, I really didn't have any of that. So I loved Jason the Red Ranger because he was that rock. He was like mom's apple pie, you know what I mean? But when I got to come back as the 6th Ranger, that was kind of cool. I mean, I had a pyramid. It wasn't a dragon, it was a pyramid. Like, I went to Giza and I said, I'll take that one. You know what I mean? So it was kind of cool to come back and be the outside ranger. And, the other guys would be getting their butts kicked. And I'd be like, you guys, more. I got this. Have a seat. I'll be right with you. Clean it up. So I didn't have to be the leader at that point. I wasn't holding the team together. I got to come back and just kind of do my thing. So it was nice. It was pretty cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah.
My question is for you. Myself, like probably most of the people in here, never got to meet the original Yellow Ranger. I was wondering if you could share some of your fonder moments with her stories from that.
Twee. She, think Walter would agree with me too. We both discussed it. And David, for that matter. She was just one of those girls, or one of those people that when you got together with her and you spent time, you could tell that she would engage you. You know, she just was right here, and you could have that conversation, and you felt like she was speaking with you. In between sets, you know, we had a lot of fun. She was a little mischievous. She had this little devious, all girls had it, but hers was even more devious. And it was awesome, because you would see her, and everybody thought, oh, she's so innocent. Sneakiness, there's no underestimating the sneakiness. And you'd see her, and something would go on, and she'd just be sitting there, just kind of this little gleam in her eye, and we'd look at her and we're like, what? Okay, all right. And, you know, but some of the other moments we would, in between sets, because there was always changing the lighting, you know, stand here and check this and do that. And it could be an hour sometimes, but they didn't want us to leave set because some of us were impossible to get back to that date. I don't know who that would have been, though. And we would just kind of curl up, you know, like you would with your sister or something. I'd lean up against the men's center counter, and she'd snuggle in front of me. We just kind of wrap our arms around each other and her back to me, and we all just sit and chat. And she had this just amazing, long, straight hair. It was like silk. And all of us, I mean, even Amy Jo, we'd just run our fingers through it. It was so cool. After the show, when we all left, she was going to do another project with us. I don't remember what the name of it was. Cyber Force, which was a project that we couldn't get off the ground at the time. But we spent a lot of time doing some private shoots and trying to make these things happen. And she was always a pleasure. I never met anyone that has ever had anything but amazing things to say about Tweet. She's just, what a great girl. Great girl. Thank you.
When you came back from Forever Red, how did it feel when you were walking off at the end when Cole's like, there goes the greatest Red Ranger of all time?
I forgot I said that. But I remember it now. I think, because I did probably about 100 episodes, so there's a lot of them that I can't remember the pieces to. People are like, you remember this one episode at this section, at this point, at this time, when you did this? I'm like, no. Do you remember what you ate for breakfast 5 years ago? I didn't think you did, you know. So it was probably a couple years later when I actually saw that episode, and I got to see what Cole said, and I remember just being like, wow, that's really cool. I mean, they paid tribute to Jason's character, and that was pretty neat, you know, especially since I gave him a hard time when I first got there. He's like, you know, big handshake, and I was like, what's up, man? Rookie.
When Tommy came back as the White Ranger, as the leader, how did you feel when he took your place?
You know, I get that question, and you guys have to understand that I wasn't really there then. You know, I was, producers knew I was leaving the show because I told them flat out I wasn't happy with the situation. Tommy's character was very popular, so they started writing him into a stronger leadership position. So it would be a smooth transition when ultimately I left the show. So I had no problems with it. I knew I was going, and Tommy was a good choice in my absence. So he was a strong character, a lot of popularity.
Thank you.
Throughout the series, the Rangers will always do activities before the fight scenes or anything, whether it be ATVs, skydiving, or just hanging out at Ernie's bar. What was your favorite one on set that you remember enjoying?
It's funny that you mentioned the ATVs. Once again, I was not very old when I was filming this show, and they gave me something with 4 wheels and an engine. Bad idea. I can tell you that for a long time, people were trying to find me so we could actually shoot the scene where I was supposed to be at. And I would come back and I'm covered in dust, and they're like, "Where have you been?" I'm like, "What do you mean, where have I been? If I knew where I'd been, you should be proud I actually found my way back here." Because I didn't know where I was when I was there. And I like ran that thing out of gas twice. I mean, I had a good time with that one. So that was a good episode. I remember the director was like, "Posty, or you cannot be running off on the ATV. It's like, okay. And he turns back. Deuces. My favorite episode was probably one with Walter Jones, where we're standing in the hall, the school hallway, and we have to do what's called freeze frames. So we'd all be standing there talking, and then the director would call, freeze, and we're like, yeah, I mean, we've all done it as kids, but we had to do it and be like, and they're changing lights and flies are buzzing through, you're like, doing this sort of number or trying not to. And in this scene, they would come over and they had this great big tarantula that had to drop, and it would land on Zach's shoulder. Well, the funny part was the tarantula handler, he was like, oh, you don't have to worry about it. I've fed him a bunch of crickets this morning. He's eating. He's cool. I'm like, okay, man. Okay, I mean, this thing was as big as my hand and hairy. Wow, that was the first tarantula I'd ever seen up close. And he says, but I'll tell you what to expect so you know if it's actually going to attack. Not that you're going to see it. But okay, man. It's like when it turns and you see its front two legs come up, that's how you know when a spider's going to attack, because that's how it scoops up its prey and pulls it into its mouth. We're like, okay, man. Walter, because it was going to be on him, so he's like, no, wait. You fed it, right? And of course, some of us couldn't help it. We're like, yep, I had one small child this morning. So, we're going on to the scene, and they come in, and we're all, frozen in position, and then the guy runs out, and now it's on his shoulder, and the director goes, action! And Zach's reaction was supposed to be, we all just kind of go like that, and he turns, and he's supposed to go, ah! Well, everything was cool until he turned and went, ah! I guess the spider didn't like that. Because that spider turned towards him, and it went, ah! And those front two legs came up, and I was like, that's bad. He said, that was bad. That's bad. And like, ah! And the handler came in out of nowhere. It was like lightning. He just scooped it right up and was out. And Walt's like, ooh, okay. And I was like, that was bad. That was really bad. He said, that was bad. You almost got 8. And the coolest part is we fell in love with that spider. We took him home. We put him in an aquarium in our house in the wall, and we fed him crickets for years. We named him Homie. True story.
What was it like going from being a hero on TV to what someone called a hero in real life?
Well, first off, you guys inspired me. And it's probably not something you expect to hear. But as a young boy, 17, 18 years old, here I am, the leader of the world's greatest television show at the time. 40 countries, 90 languages, ratings off the charts. I don't think it's been topped yet in the ratings. And as a young boy, I always felt I taught martial arts and I've been in leadership positions, but I didn't feel like I had earned the right to really be this leader, this megalith that the character was on the show. So after I left the show, it took me a while. I mean, I had some rough times, and I had to pay my way through college. I waited tables, I bartended, I bounced nightclubs, I taught martial arts. And I finally made it all the way across country, and I was bartending, again, paying my way through college. And a buddy of mine came in, and he was like, hey, you know what? You should come down to the local firehouse and volunteer. Check it out. I think you'd love it. You're into adrenaline, you can do it. I was like, that's a really good idea. So I went down, I volunteered, got my EMT basic, National Registry, and I fell in love with it. 911, here I was. Finally, I felt like being an active, we truly were in a position to save lives. And sometimes we did everything right, and we couldn't save lives, which is that's R2D2 in my pocket. There were times when we couldn't save lives, and that was a struggle. You gotta love the job to stick with it. But then I started figuring out, hey, I'm an EMT basic, but he's an intermediate. He's a cardiac tech. He's a EMT enhanced. He's a paramedic. And then I figured out paramedic was at the top of the field, and I was like, I gotta do that. because he had ALS, Advanced Life Support. He had all these really cool skills, and they always seemed so damn smart to me. Like, he knows everything. Wow. So I went back to college again, and I got my second degree in emergency medicine and became a paramedic, and I loved it, and I did it for 15 years. So there were a lot of times when we could save lives, and sometimes when we couldn't, which, you know, was always the hard part of the business. But I finally felt like I measured up and earned the right to be where you guys saw me growing up. And then I was given the opportunity to go overseas and do it with the military. I was not in the military, but I was a medic attached to military operations overseas for 4 years, long haul. And I got to work with our nation's greatest men and women. So I finally got to step up and be the leader that I think you guys deserve. I hope.
Yes!
Hi. I don't know if you ever talked about this really, but when, why, and how did you coin the name Austin St. John?
I'm not going to think about the parts I can actually admit to. It involved a beautiful woman, 2 actually, and our clothes were on. That's the official part. I was 17, and we hadn't even started filming yet. And I thought, wow, because you guys know my real name is Jason, right? Like my actual Christian name is Jason. Well, I was coming into Hollywood. I knew nothing about acting, and all I thought I knew was everybody had a stage name. And my mom had spent time in Austin. She had a singing career that she gave up when my father became a Marine and started moving. So I knew my mom loved Austin. I liked Austin. I was like, I'm going to change my name to Austin. That sounds cool. Like, So I changed it to Austin. And then I was like, and I was talking with these 2 girls, and Genevieve, and I think her name was Ashley, I think. And they were like, well, what do you do about your last name? I was like, do I have to change my last name? They're like, you should change your last name. They have a whole stage name. I was like, okay, cool. And we went by, we were driving down the street, and we'd been in a car for a while, coming up with all these names. I'm like, no. Cheesy, stupid, geeky, lame, normal, average, blah, blah, blah. I had no idea. And then we drove by a Catholic church. And I saw the name St. John. And I looked at it, I was like, what do you think about St. John? And everybody was like, no, don't do that. And then later we were like, yeah, St. John. So Austin St. John became my stage name. The killer was that my character's name originally was Victor. So I walk in the set, day 1, and straight to Hamilton. He's a director. He's from down under. So I walked up to him and I said, "Hi, man. I want to be billed as Austin St. John." And he was like, "Austin St. John." He's like, "All right." He's like, "Your real name's Jason." "Yeah." He goes, "Your character name is Victor." "Yeah." He says, "Your character's name is not Victor anymore." I was like, damn it, I just changed my name. Now you're going to make my character's name Jason. I was like, you just defeated the whole purpose. Damn it, man. And so there was the irony of it. I'm like, I'm not Jason, but I am. And of course my mom was like, you can't do that. You can't do it. That's not what I named you. I'm like, ooh, all right. I ran. So that was kind of
Thank you.
Finally, our last panel is the Zyuranger Q&A.
So let's bring them on out, all the way from Japan. First USA appearance ever, the cast of Zyuranger. I am H. Umo. Vamos, Ninja! Gosh!
I am Takumi Hashimoto.
Ranger! Boy!
Hello, I'm Lex Chiba. Stella Ranger.
So I have the first question for everybody. For each person, how do you become involved in Super Sentai?
スーパー戦隊の番組にどうやって関係になったんですか？
We are actor. They are actor. みんなオーディションがありまして、何万人という中を、頑張って勝ち抜いて、残ったメンバーです。
So they got involved through auditions, starting from a whole lot of people until it grew down to them.
何回もオーディションを受けて、どんどん、1000人が100人、100人が10人、10人の中での1人、が各選ばれて、各カラーで選ばれて、最終的に5人になりました。
For example, they started maybe 1,000 people, had an audition, narrowed it down to 500, had an audition, narrowed it down to 100, had another one, then to 10, and then it got to one person. And that's how they ended up getting their parts.
The same.
Did you watch any Super Sentai prior to getting their audition?
そのオーディションの前にスーパー戦隊の番組を見ましたか？
僕は、スーパー戦隊、日本の中の、スーパー戦隊の、サンバルカンという太陽戦隊サンバルカンというものがあって、それの黄色にイエローに憧れてここに入りました。
So he used to watch a series called Sun Vulcan.
自分がまだ5歳の時で、テレビで見てました。
So he watched it when he was 5 years old.
で、いつか絶対になりたいぞって見てました。
And someday I'm going to become that is what he was thinking.
戦隊を見て、頑張って、気がついて16歳の時に10レンジャーに選ばれました。とっても光栄なことでした。
So in order to make that happen, he worked really hard up until he was 16, and he finally made it happen.
I didn't watch because Japanese girl not interesting. 当時ってなんだっけ？その当時って英語でなんていうの？その時代。
Oh, so back then it was just that was what it was like. Girls didn't watch that.
だからびっくりしました。アクションをしたりとかオーディションでなんだこのオーディションはってびっくりしました。
So she was kind of surprised at the type of audition that it was. She was surprised it was going to be an action audition.
For me, when I was young, when I youth, I studied stage acting on Shakespeare. Went to New York City and got back Japan. I had nothing, job, money, everything. Some person asked that person help me. Someday, Toei is a movie company. Toei producer came here told me you tried Super Sentai. Yes, really. Then I tried to have physical, mental, build up. Then tried to audition four times. Then get Zyuranger.
Oh, but Goshi, question is, what did watch?
Other Sentai, nothing.
Sorry about that.
Please explain what it was like, the process of filming one episode. How long did it take? And what was the schedule like?
撮影の遠い方を説明してください。どれぐらいかかったのか。
皆さんは多分撮ってる時にカメラを何台もで撮ってると思うんですけど、撮ってると思ってるんですけど。
So usually when you do this, you probably think there's cameras for varying angles. It's kind of the norm.
実際はこの撮影は全て1台のカメラで撮られている。
But when they were filming this, there's only one camera.
編集が、おう、カット。行くぞ、カット。おう、カット。それで、一つの作品を、1週間かけないで。
So they'd have to do that all within a week.
超過密スケジュール。忙しいです。
It was an extremely difficult schedule.
Every day we wake up 4 a.m. and 東映大泉撮影所って何て言うんだっけ
At the
arrive 5 a.m. So every day. それでどう夜はまあ 5 a.m. from 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day.
Yeah, every day, every week. Work hard.
Yeah.
Old, very full.
May and the boy was high school student of high school. So we 17. Yeah, more busy.
What is everyone's favorite episode?
みんなの一番好きなエピソードは
まだ、全部10年じゃ1話から50話見ていただいている人もいただいてない人もいると思うんですけど
There could be some people in the crowd that have seen all of them, and some people have not seen all of them, but
全てがとてもいい作品なので、ぜひ見ていただきたいと先に言っておきます。
they're really all pretty good, so.
中でも忍者の話がいいです。
So the best parts are the parts where it's about ninjas.
My favorite is transform. Princess animation is changing. Changing. change, transform, stimulate. Yeah?
7 Faces of May?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Because princess now.
My favorite Christmas story. Kendo.女剣士だっけ？レジェンドエピソード。ああ。
タイトルがちょっと出てこない。
So he can't quite get the title out of his head.
Monster. What monster? Monster.
The Dora Chimera?
Dora Chimera.
Chimera, yeah.
全く覚えてない。
He still doesn't quite remember.
Get bored. 本当にそれがいい話なの？
Is it really that good?
Mountain goes protect to one woman and important thing top important women overcome and take off and then fight to Pandora. Okay.
全然わかんない。
But it's pretty much like you said. There's a very important woman that had to fight for it. And they're not fighting for it.
What is the most dangerous thing that most dangerous situation you had to do in terms of action during the shooting of Zyuranger?
特撮の撮影の時に一番危険な時は何でしょうか？
今までの戦隊の中でも、10レンジャーは、一番、変身前の、アクションがとっても一番多い作品です。
So, for one thing, this Zyuranger filming had like the most action scenes that he had to film so far, like out of anything else.
それは、5人が、みんなすごく自分でアクションができたから。
And like all 5 of them, I mean, they were able to do all the action themselves. They had to do it all themselves.
最初のうちは、ちょっとしたアクションだったんです。
So in the beginning, it was just a little bit of action.
そのうち動けるなエスカレートどんどんエスカレートしていく。
And then it would build up to where they put more action in it each time.
最初はこの高さで飛べるかなとか聞かれる。
So you could ask like, hey, how high can you jump?
それがもう最後の終わりの頃になるともう高いところから飛んでって言って。
So then it would build up until you're jumping off something much higher, jumping up higher.
だから、アクション、次のアクション、さらに上を目指すがゆえに怪我をしないように気をつけて、そういう怪我は、必ずとにかく1年を通してワンクールに、怪我をしないことを気をつけてみんな頑張っていたと思います。
So for that entire year, they made sure to do everything in small steps to ensure that they wouldn't get injured. So it wasn't quite as dangerous as they made it as not as dangerous as they could.
でこの10レンジャーの、一番の見せ所でもあるのは立ち回り戦いです。10レンジャーの、一番の、見どころ見るは、アクションシーン。
Oh, so the main thing that you look at in the series is the action scenes.
メイは 昔は今と違って CG じゃなかったからまず言って。
Well, the first thing, back then, they didn't do everything in CG.
そうだからセメント爆弾の中を走り抜けるシーンがあって
So they would have all these like explosions coming up with, smoke and cement coming out of it.
練習では爆弾は高いから使わないのね
So they're kind of expensive, so they didn't use them in practice.
だけど本番はものすごく、怖いから練習の時の2倍の速さで走れた。そこが一番怖い。だって殺されちゃうセメント爆弾に。
爆弾が怖いから。
リハーサルのテストよりも。
So during the actual filming, when these things were blowing up, it was really dangerous. So they would do it at double speed.
ライブはほら。リアル。はい。どうしよう。Nothing?
How dangerous apparently.
What is their favorite memory of working on the show?
その時の一番好きな思い出は何ですか？
現場でのだから好きなのって印象に残っているエピソードはって。だから記憶メモリーでしょ。いいの。だからゴース。あんまそれんじゃん。ゴース。What?
Boy?
Memory.
みんなの着てるコスプレが、まずとてもクール、寒い。僕の着てる衣装がとても寒い。
So he remembers his clothing being really cold. Like,
そういうのね。
だから、冬、日本の冬の時は、
oh, okay. They were filming in the winter too.
カットずーっと、なんかもう、ダメ。一番印象に残ってます。
That's what's pretty much ingrained in his mind.
俺の場合はえらいストイックにやった。
演技のためにストイックに。
So he was able to just be like extremely stoic about all the acting.
これで成功して有名な作品にしなきゃいけないというプレッシャーが。
There's a lot of pressure that, man, we got to make this a really famous, great series.
それで半分ノイローゼ状態にね、すごいストイック。
So, I mean, he just focused really hard on this. He wasn't thinking about anything else.
集中してコンセント集中してするだけ毎日毎日やらなきゃいけない。
And pretty much just had blinders on. Everything was about the show.
うん。 メインはね、みんなのチームワークが、一番記憶に残ってます。
So she remembers everybody's great teamwork.
なんでかって言ったら、高校生だった私は、いっぱい泣いてましたけど、その撮影現場で、高校生だった私はいっぱい泣いてました。
So as a high school student on stage, you would often cry.
だけどそんな時、撮影の現場で、みんながいてくれて、助けてくれる。演技で悩んだ時も自分のね忙しい時も監督に怒られた時。
So even when they're busy, you got yelled at by the manager, the producer, everybody was kind of, they were with each other to support it. So a lot of teamwork going on.
で、劇が中心メンバーリーダーだったんだけど、やっぱりみんなお兄ちゃんたちだからね、講師もそれからすごくチームワークが記憶に残ってます。
So they had older members like Geki and Gosh, and that helps really. They kind of were like older brothers. They helped the teamwork stay together.
Stop! On! DenO! Panel! Woo!
For unedited videos of these panels, be sure to check out Lexington Comic and Toy Con's official YouTube page. You've been listening to the Ranger Command Power Hour, only on the Four-Eyed Radio Network. You can catch a new episode every other Saturday. Find us on the Morphing Grid at www.rangercommand.com. Follow us on Twitter at RangerCommandPH. And like us on Facebook.com/Ranger Command Power Hour. This is Truckee B47 from the Ranger Command Power Hour, and you are listening to the Four-Eyed Radio Network. Ranger Command is now on Patreon. Become a patron by pledging as much or as little as you like every month and receive cool perks. By pledging, you are helping us make our show even better. Go to patreon.com/RangerCommandPH to learn more. Thanks.
This has been another great presentation of the Four-Eyed Radio Network. You can catch more shows at foureyedradio.com.